The sky is red. A fort appears, monsters are climbing on the fort in the ambience of war. A monster is fighting with a warrior man with swords. Monster runs back, warrior attack him with sword. The warrior asks the monster where do he think he is going. Two warriors appear, there is a situation of war on the fort. Someone is asking for some potions. All of them ask did their mages get annihilated? Over here, they are about to break through, one warrior appears. A guy says to another to let's focus, and the other says he killed that. He says he is not kill stealing, he is just going to safeguard it for him. The other boys says no way what the fuck as there are more monsters coming. Rumble situations happen in the fort. The monsters are coming. The men are standing on the fort and watching them. A guy sits down and says he can't do this anymore, they are out of potions. He just wants to die. One of them says their guild has over 500 members, but he thinks there are about 20 of them left. The boy asks is this a joke? Someone says they have been at this for a whole day, but there's no end. Another says he gave up. A girl appears in the back, doing poison wall magic. There is a green circle made around monsters. The monster starts to throw arrows. The men ask everyone to protect the mage with tanks and body blocks if they have to. A girl warrior appears with a boy in a warrior suit. Boy says he finds it. The monsters are looking at them. The boy shouts poison weapon. The boy with two swords appears and jumps from the fort. A black monster appears. Everyone on the fort says, what the heck? Is he insane? Has he come here to die? A girl says that guy is Juho. The people get surprised that he is Juho. Juho jumps on the monster, starts walking on his arm, puts his foot on the head of the monster, and attacks him with a sword. He asks the monster why doesn't he eat this. VR, or virtual reality, is the epitome of modern science. The domestic game industry is divided into two parts, before and after the development of VRS. VRS is the system that connects to brainwaves, transferring conscience and senses into a stimulated world. People are able to become the main characters of the fantasy world. That feels more vivid than life itself, and the newest fourth generation is it said to have doubled the performance of the previous generation. First generation fighting game was King of Martial Fighters. Second generation FPS game was Rainbow in 1945. Third generation strategy stimulation game Galaxy Craft, and with everyone's exceptions, the fourth generation exclusive game was announced. Role-playing games lost the sky. Korea went nuts. The people are celebrating while watching TV. Actually, the entire world boiled over with excitement waiting for the release of The Lost Sky. And today was greatly anticipated. Shinera PC office appears. A boy says even though a lot of people are here because they are inside the machine, it's really quiet. This is Ju Sungo, who is a 23-year-old Shinera PC cafe part-timer. A man came and asked him did a lot of people come. He says VRS is at maximum capacity right now. The man says as it should be. Today is the highly anticipated beta open day. Sungo says the boss seems excited. Boss says to Sungo that he can say add laughs. Boss says he did prepare by quitting all the games. He has been playing for the last 3 years. Sungo says he doesn't blame him. The boss says 100,000 is how much ammo he has charged for today. Sungo asked to boss but did he get his wife's approval for that? The boss says 100k, that's how much ammo he has charged up today. The boss is repeating the same line as NPC. NPC are the non-playable characters. They are the characters that provide quests and other various contents to the player in the game. The boss says look at the time and now he is leaving his store to Sungo then. Sungo says as an employee, he will support his gaming as best as he can. The boss says he is really his lucky charm. Sungo says not really, all he did was help him with an item upgrade once. The boss says he blessed his boss to go from 11 to 12 and now he asked how is that not a lucky charm. He says to his boss that's enough and says he is going to be late so he should head in. Boss says it's a shame they can't play together and he will see him later. It's not very convincing when he says it with so much enjoyment. The clock appears, and there is complete silence. The boss takes out a massive loan to renovate his PC cafe and switch out all VRS machines to 4th-generation machines. Thanks to that, they're the only 4th-generation PC cafe in the area. Sungo says but because of that, it's also 3 times more expensive. Luckily, all the seats are full, except for once. Sungo welcome a boy. The boy says ask him for water. He is Kong Jae-jung is a 27-year-old PC cafe night shift worker. He drinks water and says he wanted to get here faster, but the bus was late. Sungo says it is okay Hyung, it's only just started. Hyung is a Korean word that means big brother. It's used by men to refer to older men respectfully. Jae-jung says to Sungo he is only saying that because he don't know how important the difference of 1 second is in the world of pros. Sungo thinks he really is proud to be an ex-pro ranger. Jae-jung asks Sungo now is that how he show respect to his big brother. He says he is in a big hurry so he will deal with him later. Sungo says he finished setting his seat and ask him to hurry already. Jae-jung says alright he will buy him some jampong with sausage later. Jampong is a spicy Chinese-Korean noodle dish. Sungo thinks he is so flippant. Jae-jung wishes him good luck. Sungo says he is so easygoing. Sungo thinks why does everyone like VRS so much? 5 years ago, some people are asking what's wrong with him. One of them says he don't know why he suddenly flipped out and then fainted. Someone quickly messaged an admin. There is news on TV. A teenager who fainted mysteriously during a VR game has shocked everyone. Currently, medical professionals and core developers have not been able to figure out the cause or treatment. Sungo says according to professionals, he was in a vegetative state. And due to an accident during his first experience, within the 2nd generation, as he ended up being comatose for a month. His memories from back then are clear. Despite being unable to move his body like a genie trapped in a lamp, his mind and senses were sharper than ever, and because of that he felt greater pain from being trapped. Everyone comes out from the VRS and exclaims what is going on, or is this a joke? They says what the hell is this and what's going on? Sungo asks Jae-jung what's going on. He says what an amazing first day. He thinks they're going to see the 4 main great. Sungo says 4 main great and asks what is this? Jae-jung says the legendary regular maintenance, temporary maintenance, extended maintenance, and emergency maintenance. He could call it the virtual sort of maintenance. Boss appears and says to Sungo that he can't even access their site. This is just going to be a long maintenance and ask isn't it? Sungo says what do they do with all these people then? The boss says to first take care of the customers. But he cannot give refunds, so no matter what, Sungo asks him to excuse him. It is raining. Sungo is walking in the rain. He thinks it would be nice if he could play with them. Sungo is remembering boss words. The boss asks him join them later when he can. He says he doesn't really have an obsession with games or anything, but it's not a pleasant feeling to be left out every time like this. A doctor appears and says before that was the case because they didn't have the technology for it. But that's not the case anymore. They really do want anyone or everyone to be able to use it. Sungo asks is this really okay? Sungo comes to his home and turns on the lights. There is a VRS in his room. 1 month ago, at the director's office, a girl came out. The boy asked to her, what did the director say this time? She says the same thing they always say, PV crop this, PV corp that, increase the performance, and blah blah. The boy says they don't even properly support them. The girl says what can she do though? If their boss says to do it, they have to do it. The boys says they are already busy enough to make the lunch date. What do they want from them to do with the data they are missing? The boy asks the girl to please try talking to the director again. The girl shouts team leader, and says oh my god. The girl comes to Sungo and asks him please help them just once. The girl is begging him. He says why is she suddenly, and she begs and says please just one time. The boss and Jae-jung say to help her out. The DS building appears. Someone says it was so difficult to buy this. The girl says that even though they are the search team, they are really stingy with investments. The director really tried their best to convince Vito to purchase this device. They really fought for a long time. Sungo appears laying on a stretcher and thinks can he really trust her? The girl says but still, he had no idea how surprised she was. When they tried to find him in the past, he disappeared like a vapor in the wind. Sungo thinks that was an invite table since he had to enlist right after the accident. In South Korea, male citizens between the ages of 18 and 35 must perform compulsory military service. The girl says his boss submitting an inquiry was really like destiny. Of course, she didn't mean something like that when she said destiny. She asks he know what she's saying. He thinks she is making him awkward. Sungo asks so when does the level test like thing start? The girl is too excited and talks too much. She says they will start right away. Sungo thinks still, because of her nose stopped talking, he was able to be relaxed. Then they will start the level measurement. A guy shot another guy in the head. A guy says he must be insane, he's acting them himself. The girl says she saw something like that before in an old Hong Kong movie. Sungo can see it, or should he say he can feel it. All of his senses are telling him the current situation and the incoming dangers as well as everything beyond that. It's been like that for a long time now. These strange sensations that appear when he focuses on something create the illusion that the world stops and he's the only one moving. Every time he would end up suffering from chronic headaches and go to a hospital. The name of the disease is hyperimmersion syndrome, which is a rare disease that caused him to go beyond the limitations of his body. Whenever he is focused, it also causes him to collapse. A boy asks everyone to see above. Sungo says but in the VR world, without the limitations and restrictions of his body, as much as he pleases, he can run around to his heart's content. This feeling like nothing is impossible. Blue waves appear. He asks what is this and a boy near him says something is strange. Another Saya, why is he like that? Sungo shouts and smashes into the ground. A boy asks to call the admins quickly and dial 911. Sungo opens his eye laying on the bed. He asks how much time has passed. The doctor says about 30 minutes and asks it was fine. He asks about the results, and she says it's a big problem. Sungo asks about big problem and she says she is afraid. Mr. Sungo rip, reaction time input, is there. It is raining, and Sungo is standing in his room in front of VRS. He says well for today it's not like today is the only day. This is Sinera VRS and Sungo says good morning. He sees Yeonji and she says to Sungo that he came early. He asks what about Jae-jung, and the boss. Yeonji says him to please let her go quickly so she doesn't get hit by her mom. He says yeah he will let her go and praises her work. When she leaves he dazes for how young she is so cold. He asks how did the boss have a daughter like that? Boss, Jae-jung, it's been a while since the sun rose. Sungo is standing. The boss says is their lucky charm is here. He says look at the time now. He says he told him to let him know when it was time. Sungo tells the boss that Yeonji already left. The boss asks him to take care of the rest. He says lucky charm, he is going to die and leaves. Jae-jung appears from the VR, and he says the boss is going to get his skull cracked again. Sungo says, how was it or was it fun? Jae-jung says it's a new world. Jae-jung asks Sungo if he still haven't tried it yet, the time just flies by. Sungo says he was just kind of tired yesterday. Jae-jung says don't tell him asks Sungo to checked out. Sungo asl what does he mean by checked out? He was just tired yesterday. Jae-jung says anyway, since Sungo is going to play it soon he asks should this young give him a tip. Sungo asks about the tip. Jae-jung says when the game started, there was a massive crowd of people on the ground, so the lag was no joke. Sungo says he saw complaints about that on the board. Jae-jung says that's why he tested it. Sungo asks how. Jae-jung says there are NPCs that are capable of fighting, you aggro it to intentionally die to it. Sungo asks if he intentionally die. Jae-jung says yeah, the NPC's location was right next to where the first quest was, so he immediately returned and cleanly cleared the first quest. Sungo says, as expected, that he really should respect Jae-jung petty tricks. Jae-jung shouts and says this bastard, how dare he call it petty tricks. Also, those are not petty tricks but experiences. Sungo says he agreed and much agreed. Jae-jung says to Sungo that he is telling him this because he want them to play it together. So in return, he is going to charge him for this. Sungo thinks he knew it. Jae-jung says to Sungo to be careful when he raises his hands. The transmission of the senses in the VRS can't even be compared with the third generation. Now that he thinks about it, if someone with a high RIP number played it, essentially really giving a tugger wing. Sungo asks about RIP. Sungo asks doctor about unmeasurable and the doctor says yes, this machine is able to measure up to 600 RPT, but he maxed it. He says, what does that mean? The doctor says a normal 200, 300 RTP in gamer 300, 400 RTP. The RTP figure quantity is the amount of communication that the human brain receives when VRS sends them data, thus the higher the number, the more the person is optimized for gaming. He asks so why does he collapse? She says the second generation VRS that he experienced was unable to handle his RPT. A kind of data bottleneck appears, which causes damage to his brain. Sungo asks what does that mean now and she says, of course he is completely able to now. The doctor asks him to make sure to wear this RTP restrictor and connect only to the VRS custom that they made for him. Sungo says alright, let's trust in them and try it once. He goes into another world. This is a lost sky. Sungo is laying inside the VRS. He says he doesn't like to fix this too much. He says let's just make it simple. It's already full until server 8. He says Jae-jung and his boss are in server 1, but he has no other choice. He asks shall he start. He enters and a voice echoes which says welcome to the word of the lost sky brain waves checked, this is Sungo, male, character name Juho level 0. Sungo is now in the world of the lost sky. He says it feels just like reality. He says he doesn't know much about the third generation but he can't compare this to the second generation. He sees a notice. He says Jae-young taught him that the NPC stayed right beside the starting point. He decides to see, so this is the stats window. He says of course, all these are just the basic stats and the basic items. He asks does he only get one sword as his weapon. He put his hand into the air and a sword appears in his hand. He says the sensation feels real. He looks at the North Forest hunting ground. His first quest is fox hunting. He says so this is where the fox comes out. He sees a fox and says he finds one as soon as he arrived. He says he is lucky. He sees 2 other players. The girl is saying to hurry as they might miss it. The guy says he will try to tie it down. Other players comes and ask what he is doing. The fox is surrounded by many players. The guy asks that to not make a mistake this time. The girl attacks and says die, they all attack the fox, and the guy attacks with a sword and kills it. The guy notices Sungo and he is standing. He thinks what a scary looking eye. The guy with long hair asks him if he is hunting alone. The guy says he should form a party. It's hard to do it alone. He apologizes and says they don't just get anyone for their party. Guy and Sungo have eye contact. Guy asks his other companions to let's go. Sungo says why does he talk like they know each other? He starts to walk and thinks so each party picks their area and only hunts in that area. He says he should have a party, it is hard to do this alone. Sungo says he didn't like him, but he was right. Juho message everyone that he is looking for a place to hunt foxes. He asked did he do this wrong. He gets a party invitation so he asked did he get one. He says there are so many. He asks them to wait and says since this is a popular game, there are a lot of people looking for a party member. A message came which says nice to meet you. They ask Juho would he like to play with them. He says only this one has the message. He clicks on it and sees the player's name, his name is on the last page. Someone shakes hand with Juho and says it's nice to meet him. The guy says the foxes are really fast, so just stand there, and if a fox runs, always stop it or just don't let it go away. Sungo sees a girl AMD says she has customized her character really well. The boy asks everyone to focus as it has respawned. Sungo thinks it really is fast when he sees it this close. The player tries to stop it and says he will lead it there. Some of them have blocked this side and ask them to narrow it down. Sungo thinks so this is how they catch the fox. The players are attacking with the sword. One player attacks with a sword and fox dies. A guy says it was excellent. Another says everyone did a great job and asks so shall we go back to their position and get ready. Sungo thinks he can understand a bit of what's happening here and asks the girl is fox hunting really that good. He says the quest has been completed, but the players are not leaving. The girl says the next quest after hunting is wolf hunting. If anyone get bitten by a wolf it is said that he will lose a lot of HP, which is why people are staying here to get some items and level up by hunting the foxes and of course, that is what she is doing. Sungo says from foxes to wolf right away the gap is too big. The guy asks everyone to see as there is again a fox. The fox is coming towards Sungo, and the girl attacks but misses. The guy asks them hurry up and stop it but it escapes. The girl apologizes and says it is because of her. Sungo says don't worry and he goes behind the fox. He says he can feel its speed, route, dodge time, and all of its information in a second. All of it says it is going to be right there when he attacks. A girl asks where is he throwing and the guy wonders if he will miss. His sword smashed into the fox's neck. All of them are shocked and he sees his hand and gets shocked. A fox appears with a sword smashed into its neck. Sungo appears. People say, wow and ask is it a hit? The girl says wow. Sungo thanks her, she says no and thanks to Juho because she is the one who made the mistake but he get this one right. He says to her she doesn't have to. The girl says if they had missed it, it would have had a big impact on the party members, but he saved them. Sungo thinks are they sensitive to mistakes? She doesn't have to thank him this much. He just tried to throw it because he felt like it. He says he guesses he was lucky. The girl says that isn't easy either. Sungo thinks well he guesses this isn't bad either. The guy says everyone it will regenerate soon so let's get back to their position. The girl asks should they also get back to their positions. Sungo says yes, let's try one more time. The fox escaped. Man shouts Juho and his sword appears smashed into fox's neck. Juho appears with his sword, he says they have been doing this for a long time, he is getting tired now. He thinks now the others are also watching them and it's getting easier. He says the sensation if he concentrates, it's like the world has stopped. That doctor girl appears, saying the higher his RTP is, the more optimized he is for the game. Sungo says he thought that he was just being cursed. A girl comes and says she thinks they should start calling him a fox master. He says no it's just hunting foxes there's no need to call him master. A boy asks how does a sword get stuck into the fox's neck like a magnet. Another guy says he thought Sungo was a machine that caught foxes and it's because he is good. Sungo asks them to please stop it as he is barassying. Sungo says he thinks this is enough for him today. A guy says what a shame the fox master is leaving. People say thanks to him and says he did a great job. The girl says Juhanim, he says good game, charming Nim, and she says what a shame it would have been better if they could play more. He says what he had to go for now let's play together for another time if they get a chance. She says it's alright with him if can she add him as a friend. He asks about as a friend, and she says sorry. If she made him uncomfortable, when they have just met, she is really sorry. He says he didn't know there was such a function that's why he asked. She says, then can he do it? He says sure. The girl says alright and goodbye him. She says she will go and play a little more. She asks him to not ignore her message. Sungo says, of course he won't enjoy hunting. People say goodbye to him. The next day, VRS appears. A voice echoes which says welcome to the world of Lost Sky, brain waves check, Sungo male, character name Joho level 1. This is Wandering Sky Forest. Sungo guesses this armor is worth his hard work yesterday. A face call came, and he clicked on it. The girl appears and says hello, Joho Nim. He says he didn't know that they could do video calling in this game. She says she is also using this for the first time. She says, can he see her well? He says, yes, he can and were she haunting? She says she was just resting. He thinks seeing her level she must have played a lot after he left. She tells him tgat she was just fixing her items in this place. He asks, where is she so he will come there. He thinks it feels good when there is someone waiting. As soon as he connects but the level gap. He says if they want to play together, he should level up quickly. The girls ask what and why. He asks what does she mean why. He says it is because he's at level 1 and she's at level 3. The girl says that doesn't matter, they just need to enjoy the game. She says she enjoys playing with him. He says this is embarrassing. This is wolf haunting grounds. Sungo asks Ms. Charming if it is really okay to play at his level. She says it's fine. She says she doesn't care about that stuff as long as it's fun. Sungo thinks is it really okay? He says of course it is fine with him but also the longbow. He asks Ms. Charming if she changed her weapon. She says she gave it a try yesterday after he left, but she thinks it suits her better than a melee weapon. Sungo says the precise control she needs must make it difficult and he's impressed. He says well he guesses he will need to try his best to make sure she has a fun time. She says she is already excited and she looks forward to it. Sungo says then let's start with gathering a party. Ms. Charming asks do he think they can find a party for both of them to play at. Sungo says one moment that won't be an issue. He says they have 2 players looking to join a wolf hunt party. Suddenly a lot of messages come. He asks will this do and now shall we take our pick. A guy came, saying, Mr. Juho greets him and says it's nice to meet him. He is a shield warrior with level 3 and a main weapon shield. Shield warrior says now that there are 5 people he asks shall they get started. A guy says he was wondering when they would begin, he is a father with level 2 and the main weapon shield. There is a pretty girl with her main weapon, a short sword, and level 2. Shield warrior says they will take the standard approach first, they can bring him that way and block the wolf with their shields. He says Mr. Juho and the pretty girl can prepare to attack from the right, while Ms. Charming can get further away and deal damage to the wolf when it starts attacking. Ms. Charming says okay. Shield warrior says let's begin. A wolf appears. Juho thinks about pretty girl that she is pretty small and he wonders if he can do much damage. Wolf attacks Mr. Warrior and attacks back with a shield. Sungo thinks this difficulty is definitely different from the fox. The warrior and father are using shields on the wolf, and the wolf again attacks on them. Shield warrior says they will herd it in that direction soon and ask them to get in their positions. Mr. Juho and Ms. Pretty says okay. Juho thinks unlike the fox's hunting grounds, the wolf don't stay in their own set territories. Shield warrior asks them to make sure it doesn't come this way. Juho thinks if they make a mistake, they will have to face multiple at once, so herding the wolf is important. The pretty girl attacked a wolf and missed it. Ms. Charming says now is their chance. The pretty girl again attacks a wolf and says die. Wolf appears with an arrow smashed on his neck and attacks the pretty girl. The shield warrior came and protected the pretty girl with his shield, and he is stopping the wolf with a shield. The pretty girl says please just die. She again attacks the wolf from the back. Juho, in viewer mode thinks it's impressive that warrior who drew the attention of the mob and bashed it with his shield and mixed offense and defense. On top of that, he even protects his teammates. Every move of his is skilled, and the pretty girl with that small size it seems reckless to attack in melee, but she did significant damage without any hesitation. She's a berserker, completely the opposite of how she looks. He thinks Charming's distance control and timing are also great. Considering all this party is really good. Warrior says let's work hard again this time everyone. It's starting to respawn. Shield warrior asks everyone please get ready. Juho thinks at this rate, she will cut in front of him again. The pretty girl attacks. The warrior is stopping the wolf with a shield. Juho attacks the wolf with his sword twice in a blink of an eye. In the last hit, he smashed his sword into the wolf's throat and killed it. He says to pretty girl that it looks like he was faster this time. The whole party is wondering. This is wolf hunting ground. Someone says it's headed to the left. Juho is attacking a wolf and kills the wolf. Other teammates are looking at him pleasingly. Ms. Charming says to Juho she has never seen anything like that. He asks what and she says how should she describe it. She thinks she just witnessed something unbelievable. With the fox, Juho showed his deadly accuracy by throwing his dagger. And this time he's focusing on the neck and keeping slashing at the same precise spot. Juho says it seems like Charming is having fun. She says it was a good decision to tag along with him. Now Charming appears to be attacking a wolf. It's the same situation as yesterday. The only difference is that the fox are now wolf. They hunt and the wolf dies. The whole team appears. Juho is sitting and he says he is tired. He thinks he doesn't know how many they have gotten. Its regeneration rate is faster than the fox and there are a greater number of them, so there is no time to take a breather. Warrior says they're planning to hunt a couple more and then move over to the wild boars and ask Juho do he have time to join. Juho says it would be a pleasure for him to hunt with the team he's comfortable with. Warrior asks Juho that can he send him a friend request. Juho says friend request and Shield Warrior says yep. Juho says of course he can. Warrior says he looks forward to playing together. Juho says he is also really looking forward to it. He thinks this is his second friend. Someone grabs Juho's arm from behind. The pretty girl is standing at the back. She asks can she also be a friend. Juho says yes of course as he is looking forward to it. She says thank you. Juho thinks she is totally different from when she hunts. The system gives an update says that the name Juho level up from 1 to 2, beginner leather shirt defense 2, beginner leather pant defense 1, beginner leather shoes defense 1, and beginner wooden shield defense 2. New arm guards, new leg guards, and a new long sword. Juho selects these and he says let's see. A sword appears in his hand. He thinks it is definitely heavier than the short sword. It's manageable since his strength has increased. Warrior says since Juho levels are going up he asks Hall they head over to the next hunting grounds with the wild boar. Juho says yes and asks shall they. He says Mr. Shield Warrior even if he block with a shield he asks doesn't his HP still go down. Warrior says he guesses, since it's not at 100% defense. This is a red liquid and Juho says him to take this potion. Shield Warrior says this is okay. Juho says thanks to him as he had no use for his portion anyway. He says he will have to leave the tank to him in the future too, so he will feel better in this way. The warrior says then he will gladly take it as he actually did need it a bit. Juho says just let him know in the future that he's sure to acquire potions won't be cheap. Shield Warrior says he is so thoughtful and thanks him. Charming comes and says excuse her and says let them give some potions to Mr. Warrior too. Shield Warrior says this is too much. He says he is grateful, but all of it doesn't even fit in his inventory. Juho thinks if a stranger saw this, they would think he was bullying them for potions. This is wild boar hunting grounds. Wild boar appears and attacking a team. Now on both sides, a wild boar appears. A girl says it's coming and asks everyone to split up. Juho and his team are watching them from the cliff. The warrior says that with this speed, it might be hard to block it with his shield. The girl asks everyone to run and splits up. Juho is watching them and thinks based on his observations after it charges. It stops for a moment, as if stunned. It seems like the charge itself is its skill. If they can block the charge, then he might be able to slice it right at that moment. He says excuse him Mr. Shield Warriors. He asks what if they give this a try. The whole team is looking at him and ask will that work. Juho says if it doesn't, then they will just have to do what they're doing. Charming says if they all give Mr. Warrior their potions and try it then she thinks it might work. Warrior says well let's give it a shot. The Juho team appears, and the warrior says ask the pig to look over here. The pig looks at them. Shield Warrior says good boy. He asks the pig to now come the pig attack the warrior. Now the warrior and other teammates are going to stop the pig with their shields. This is Sinera PC. Sungo says good morning. Sungo asks did something happen. The girl says it seems like something happened to him, and Sungo says ask if she is talking about him. The girl asks were he drinking last night. He says no. The girl says to Sungo that he has got bags under his eyes. She asks was he watching porn last night. He was drinking water and threw it out after listening to this. He says what she is saying. The girl goes out and wishes him good luck for his shift. She says she is clocking out. Sungo says that little brat just says anything. Sungo is sitting on a chair, he feels like dying. He thinks he shouldn't overdo it, but yesterday was really an incredible night. Pig appears attacking on the warrior. Now, 3 teammates are stopping Pig with shields, their HP is getting low. While they are stopping Pig, Sungo appears. He says he is here and now it's their chance. Sungo attacks the pig. The warrior and other teammates drop the shield, and the pretty girl attacks the pig. Sungo attacks the pig and kills it. Pig disappears. A steel helmet with coins appears. All of them get surprised and says they just hit the jackpot. Father Saya let's pull an all-nighter. Charming says if they are not careful, we might get reported for cheating. Father Sats it's not as if it's a bug, they are just using the system as is. He asks so what's the issue? The warrior says, let's just take advantage of it while they can. Juho thinks will this be okay? Pretty girl also thinks it will be fine. Father says pretty girl gave her and asks so what does Juho think? Juho says okay let's hunt wild boar all night. He thinks whatever they do, they should get all that they can while it works. Now. And so they really caught wild boars all night until the sun rose. Sungo says he feels worn out. Now that he thinks about it, he doesn't see any of the usual grandparents. He asks did something happen? He says that sound must be Jae-jung. He says didn't see the manager and ask did he go home already. He says that's as likely as the sun rising in the south. He says he knew there was no way both of them would have finished up early. Door opens, a girl comes, she is angry and asks that bastard, where is he? This girl is Jae-jung's girlfriend, Young Soon-young. She is 24 years old. Sungo has solid eye contact with her and he says you are here. Sungo is standing anxiously and she ran out. Sungo says he didn't say a single word. Suddenly something happens and he asks what is it? It's his girlfriend, and that's hurting Soo-young. Sungo says should do some cleaning. Jae-jung and his girlfriend appear to be sitting on the bench. AMD Sungo thinks and out Jae-jung eyes. Sungo says Nunim, here is her non-carbonated orange drink. She says she would feel a lot better if Sungo were his boyfriend. Instead, she looks at Jae-jung and says, he doesn't even know if this guy knows what she likes to drink. She says but Sungo looks kind of sick today. It is because he is lonely that she should set him up on a date. Sungo says, no it's not like that. He was gaming until pretty late last night. She thought he didn't play. Unlike a certain someone, she looked at Jae-jung. Jae-jung says it wasn't that he didn't, it was more like he couldn't. Jae-jung asks why did they say immersion syndrome? Something like that. He says then, if they are playing 2 game he must know why the game is under maintenance. Sungo asks it's not just the usual system update. Jae-jung says, don't get him started, he know which server these guys were on, but they figured out some tricks to hunt the wild boar. The entire staff went crazy catching the wild boar. Sungo shouts and eyes wild boars. Jae-jung says yeah, the developers made a server announcement and shut everything down for maintenance early this morning so they could put a stop to it. Sungo gets awkward and says maintenance while he thinks because of the haunting that their party did. Sungo is working on a computer. On the screen of a computer, it is written. I would like to be alone. Can everybody please leave? Who the hell thought of that? I am impressed. Currently buffing Mr. Wild Boar, did they not block that? Back in my day, it was really hard. Am I the only one who didn't know? Lost Sky is on temporary maintenance. They will be conducting an inspection. For stability issues, they apologize for the unexpected update. Sungo says he didn't think it could get this big. He asks what if they get suspended. Jae-jung appears to be saying what's suspended. He says if they get suspended, that would be ridiculous. All they did was use the system. Sungo says right. Jae-jung says whoever they are, if they're clever enough to think up these tricks, he would want them under his wings. Sungo laughs, the computer says the temporary maintenance is complete, he may enter now. A voice echoes welcome to the world of the Lost Sky, brain waves check, Jae-sungo, male, character name Juho level 3 the forest of the wandering sky appears. Juho receives calls from his teammates, they are saying where he is. He thinks he is impressed that they are in as soon as maintenance is over. This is Hearthstone Market entrance. The warrior says they are over there. Juho says they didn't all see each other yesterday. Warrior says it's good to see him as well. Warrior asks, did Juho see the announcement? It kind of feels like a reward for grinding all night. Yes, Charming says, she thought it was a shame it ended that way. Juho was wondering if there would be a suspension or anything. They all laugh. Sungo says it must have caused a lot of trouble for everyone yesterday. Warrior asks what do he mean. Level 9 Shield Warrior, Pretty Girl, and Charming are on level 7. Juho's level is 3. Juho says like this right now since he can't play during the day, he guesses he can't keep up. Charming says as she said last time, she doesn't mind as long as she gets to play with Juho. Pretty Girl says yeah and says let's just play together. Warriors says he don't care either, with Sungo skills, the level doesn't make any difference. Sungo thinks these people are really interesting. Sungo says then to express his thanks, let him lead them to a surprise event. The previous day this is Sinera PC. Jaejung is eating noodles and says to Sungo that he is only heading to the Orc region now. Sungo says yes. Jaejung shows him a hidden quest that Sungo absolutely has to do first. Sungo asks about hidden quest. Jaejung says when you are hunting in the forest region, he says do he know how he sometimes get red shards. Juho remembers asking the warrior, do he know what this is? The warrior says he doesn't know he has a bunch of those in his inventory as well. Juho thinks he got more than enough red shorts yesterday. Gather all of those and take them to the Red Crystal Market, Apprentice Magician NPC. Then they will turn it into a red crystal for you. Take that and go back into the southernmost part of the forest, where a barrier will open up. He asks what's over there. Jaejung says a present and he says him to be sure to go there with a few elites. Juho's team is going there. The warrior asks isn't this place a little eerie? Pretty Girl says he said there's something here. Sungo stops and says he thinks they have arrived. There is a red crystal in his hand starts pouring into the air. There is a girl sitting and the red crystal goes into her. Charming asks isn't that a boss character and Sungo thinks what with the boss? He thought a treasure chest would appear, the warrior says a named boss, he wasn't sure, so he tried looking up its attack. He asked Juho how did you find out about this hidden quest? Juho says he must have known about it as well. He heard about it from a friend of him. Warrior says it doesn't seem like it's noticed them yet and asks should they make a plan. Juho thinks he will use what he got from the wild boar. 2 long swords of the forest appear in his hands. Warrior asks Juho how do he plan on defending himself. Juho moves his swords and says it's just something that he had thought about, but he wanted to give it a try. Warrior asks does it have to be during a boss fight. Juho says shall they get started. Boss is still sitting, she opens her red eyes and stands up. She is short. The boss is getting ready. The warrior says everyone get ready. The name of the boss is Trine. Warrior says he will cover the front. Warrior says to Juho and Pretty Girl that 2 of them can attack from rear. He says Charming can attack from anywhere except his direction. He says now let's go. Trine is sitting and she stands up. Warrior says she is short, but they should still be careful. Despite her size, she really is a boss. Warrior says everybody gets ready, including a named boss. Juho says to the shield warrior to be careful. Trine starts attacking, and the warrior is stopping the attack with a shield. Juho thinks she is weaker than he expected. He thinks the warrior is reducing the impact of the attack by deflecting it with his shield. His technique with the shield is incredible. He thinks Juho should hurry and also deal with some damage. Juho starts attacking. He says Trine is able to attack with blind spots. She is attacking on Juho and Warrior says Juho is taking damage. The Pretty Girl starts attacking and Charming Girl appears in the back. She also attacks on Trine now. Warrior says fall back again. Warriors Saya be careful as they don't know when her patterns will change so they should proceed with caution. He says now let's go again. Juho again attacks and cuts her blind spots. Pretty Girl also attacks. Juho saves Pretty Girl from a Trine attack, and she thanks to him. The warrior says okay, let's go again. Charming asks them to wait as the atmosphere changed. Trine is flying in the air, the atmosphere is changing and warrior says her AoE pattern has started. AoE means area of effect. Attacks that affect the whole area as opposed to an attack that only affects a single target. The warrior says to Charming to continue to deal with damage and ask everyone to be on standby. He asks them to hoot warrior things while she is getting healing and while using the AoE to protect herself. Juho thinks they can't let the boss heal herself when they don't even know her HP. Juho appears and he refuses to go down without doing anything. Juho is going to attack Trine. The warrior asks him to wait. Juho says when Juho focuses on this reality right before him, nothing feels impossible. Juho attacks Trine, which is why Juho is cutting her arms. The reason why he felt an impulse to run wild and test his limits is because Juho is attacking on the Trine and going to enter her area. His teammates are watching this and they gets a shock. AMD ask what did they just witness. Juho is entered into the Trine area. He thinks would she look at this as she must have thought no one could come inside. There is smoke around the Trine. All of them saws it's hard to get close. Charming says she has to wait till the smoke subsides. Inside the smoke Trine is healing, and Juho is looking at her. He thinks would she look at this. He thinks she's so defenseless. AMD ask how dare she. Charming says the smoke is too thick and she can't see Juho. She says he is probably okay. Warrior asks he hats the deal with the smoke. They sees that Juho has smashed his sword into Trine, and she is stopping it. Warrior says he is always full of surprises. Warrior says he thinks there's going to be another phase. They need to deal as much damage as they can right now. Warrior and Pretty Girl wonder because Charming has put an arrow into the Trine arm. Pretty Girl says Ahei is already changing phases and Warrior it's kind of grotesque. Juho asks what will it be now. Trine grabs Pretty Girl's hand. AMD she is anxious. Warrior says Pretty Girl has to cut it off right now. Trine also attacks the Warrior's shield, and Charming is watching it. She says to Pretty Girl to fall back now that she throws an arrow. Pretty Girl says thanks to Charming. She says she wasn't dealing this much damage earlier. The warriors ask everyone to immediately let each other know when they are grabbed, they need someone else to free them. Juho says he doesn't think paralysis is the only thing that happens when you're grabbed by those vines. He says it's the same energy he saw when she was healing herself. After being dealt critical damage after attacks got stronger. He says to everything that he thinks she is putting up a final life steal because she's at her limit, which means if they can endure this, she will die on her own. Juho sees Pretty Girl and says she's scarier than the boss. A large number of veins appear around Trine, and teammates are looking at her. Juho thinks unless they can deal damage by breaking through that flurry, they will have to trudge through this war of attrition. Juho advances, the warrior remaining on his back. Juho is standing in front of a large number of veins. He steps forward and attacks, cutting the veins just a bit more. Now, he throws his one sword into the veins. The sword is flying towards the Trine by cutting through the veins. Trine, with her powers, changes the direction of the sword before reaching into her. While doing this, Juho throws his other sword, and now the sword is smashed into Trine's neck. A light appears, and other teammates are watching this. Trine bows down on land and dies. A yellow flower appears instead of Trine. Charming says Juho, and the warrior asks Juho is he using cheat codes by yourself. Pretty Girl says this is amazing. Juho appears holding a yellow flower. Other teammates appear. A golden light is falling on them and the level up. This is Shinera PC. Jaejung says it's hard. Sungo asks what it is, and he says the orc village. Sungo asks he already went in and Jaejung says but he can't break through it. He says he went with the boss yesterday and they both died. The ORC village is the hottest location currently. Because the only way to pass through the northern valley is to break through the orc village. It's a place where all players are gathering, but as of yet, there is no news of any server that has managed to make it past orc village. Sungo says as expected, server 1 has already begun raiding the orc village. He asks have he seen the boss. Jaejung says yes, he was holding up the deep inside of the altar by himself. He says they need to make it past warriors, mages, and archies. But then the orc chief is on a whole other level. Sungo says he must be really strong, and Jaejung says they are able to hit him with swords, but his HP is ridiculously high. He says not to mention how large he is in size. Any close-range players might as well be flies, and he even has AoE, but that's why he got owned. Sungo says to Jae-jung, and he is trying to cheer himself up by saying he was always the opponent or something like that. Jae-jung says to Juho that he is a fucker. Jae-jung is eating something while having his arm on Sungo's shoulder. He says it would be doable only if they had a spellbook to counter stunts. In the spellbook, there was an announcement made this morning. 1 stat reset magic control for players level 15 and under has been provided to everyone on the server. This item will automatically be added to the inventory of new characters. After the announcement, there's been a craze for spell books. The prices exploded, so they're getting traded for really high prices. Jae-jung says he shouldn't go near any orc mages, and Sungo asks are they that strong. Jae-jung says well they're strong, but that's not it. The ones who are after spellbooks will aim at you even if you get close. Juho says they are restricting people. Jae-jung says restrict his ass, and it's just because nobody is picking fights because it's still the early days of the game, but they are ahead of the pack, so low-level newbies should avoid them. At night, Sungo is working on the computer. It is written on the screen. Recruiting members of the Oversea Village raid Immortal, I am aiming to be the one to make it. Past the Oversea Village in all the servers, fill in server 3 Orc Village, must be level 12 or above. Must have forest set items or above. Preferential treatment to Maggies and Archies must be equipped with a full set of potions, recruiting 5 parties of 8 out of a total of 40 members. Juho thinks being level 12 or above right now would make him a ranker, and he can't get a full forest set yet without being incredible skilled or wailing. He says Jae-jung must be really serious about finishing today, he is really an incredible guy. A voice echoes welcome to the world of the Lost Sky brainwave check. Character name, Juho, level 8. There is a notice that the spawn rate of forest orc mages has increased by 20 times, the spawn points of forest orc mages have been randomized, and the spell book rate of forest orc mages has been adjusted. Juho says that was fast, they immediately patched the nonsense caused by the spell books. Face calls comes, Charming says hello, Shield Warrior asks where he is and Juho says messaging him instantly they are really incredible. Juho wears his suit, forest helmet, leather shirt, leather pants, and trine shoes, which are all new. Arm guards and leg guards are also new. He thinks the hidden boss tunnel gave a huge haul yesterday, and thanks to defeating it with a small group, they were each able to take a large share of the items. This is Orc Valley. He says wow, this is quite the atmosphere. Warrior says welcome back. The warrior says let's really go it today, he will block everything with this great forest shield. Juho says of course they are counting on him. Warrior says this area is where the smallest group of orcs spawns. It seems that other places are tough because larger groups spawn and it's real hell when lots of archers spawn, in which case you need to run. Juho thinks as expected, the warrior came prepared. Juho says thank you, and the pretty girl says she is also. Juho sees something and asks what's that. All of them says that's a mage spell book. Juho says he heard that spawn points were changed. This is like lightning fast delivery. The warrior says there's no one else around, so ask everyone to runs. Juho thinks it belongs to whoever kills it first. Warrior attacks on spawn with shield. Warrior says take this forest attack. Pretty girls also attack spawn. Charming, throw an arrow at them. 2 members of the spawn appear. Juho attacks by saying why don't you eat this? He attacks on the eye of the main spawn member and injures his eye, then he again attacks and smashes a sword into his throat and kills it. Juho attacks the eye of one mage member and smashes a sword into his throat, killing it next. The warrior is stopping the mage with his shield, and Juho attacks and kills it too. The mage is lying on the land. Pretty girl and Charming says let's pick up the items. The warrior says it's here, and a spell book appears in his hand. All of them are standing near the spell book and ask what should they do with this. Juho thinks an unexpected lucky drop. Juho asks does anyone need this? He thinks the warrior is fantastic, and the pretty girl is already obsessed with the joy of swordsmanship. He thinks about Charming and Charming asks can she use this? She says of course she'll pay for this. She knows that spell books go for a lot. The warrior and pretty girl look at Juho, and he says pay for it she say. Juho says she can go ahead and use it and ask why don't they settle it by redistributing the drops while they hunt. Warrior says he also thinks it will be good if Charming uses it. Pretty girl says it's fine with her as well. Charming thanks to everyone, and a dark mountain appears. Charmingly opens the book and light appears. She says she redistributed her stats to magic power and intelligence. Now let her try to use the spell book. The spell book flies in the air, a yellow light comes from it, and it goes to Charming's chest. Charming, with her finger, creates a round, and Charming creates a magic arrow and throws it to the cliff. The cliff breaks into pieces really fast. Juho thinks she had a keen sense of being able to accurately hit something. On her first attempt with magic, the speed of this spell is faster than he expected. He wonders if they can use it to respond to enemy spells. The warrior says it's the same magic arrow, but it's much stronger than just a moment ago. Charming says it was fully charged. It has a longer cast time, but its range, speed and power all go up, and it even costs less mana. Charming says she will actually have to test it out against some mobs to get used to charge timing. The pretty girl says that's cool. Juho says he has never seen her so talkative. He thinks this spell book is doing its job. They look like real sisters and says how heartwarming it is. Charming says the casting timing is still confusing. Juho asks then why don't they continue hunting. Charming says yes, let's continue. All of them are standing. The warrior is standing close to the rock. He sees another mage. He says it would be nice if there was another mage, but there are only warriors around. Juho says they got lucky finding even one. They say that it's like finding a needle in a haystack. The pretty girl says over there is a mage. The warrior says an orc mage and asks them to let's run. There is another team appearing. Juho thinks what's his deal. Both teams are in front of each other, and Juho asks what he is doing. A guy from the other team says that they found him first, so why don't he let them have it. Juho says he thought they would attack it first, but they're attempting to talk it out, and he says how can he prove that. The guy says he should just take the hint while he is trying to talk it out. Juho thinks he might attack at this rate. It will be bad if others show up while we are busy doing this. Juho says, and if they don't want to talk. The guys from the other team laugh and says in that case. The guy says that in that case, all of them have to die. Juho and the guy are standing in front of each other. Juho says that's interesting, so he will kill them. Juho asks why don't he show him. Other team members say he is an asshole, and ask what's his deal. Do he really want to go at it? A guy asks them to just attack him. One guy attacks Juho. Juho attacks him with his sword. Another guy attacks Juho, who dies, and Juho attacks him back. They are both lying on the ground. One says his body won't listen to him. Juho thinks so stuns can even happen during PvP. The black guy says to Juho that he is going to pay for this. Juho thinks he guesses he should finish this. Both of them attacks again and kills them. He says now all that's left is two guys who are attacking the warrior. A magic arrow is smashed into one guy, and Charming kills him. The pretty girl attacks the last guy and the guy throws an arrow at her and she dies. When a pretty girl attacks him, he disappears. She says he recalled that she's going to kill him. The whole team appears. Juho says to Charming that this is the first time she have fought against people. She says yeah, and it feels very different from fighting monsters. Juho says to Mr. Shield that he doesn't seem to be really fazed by it. Warrior says he may look like this, but he played a lot of games during the third generation. Luckily, seeing as their usernames haven't changed to red, he thinks it was recognized as self-defense, and they were so gracious as to drop their items. Charming says how nice they are. The warrior says everyone is the orc mage, and the face of the orc mage appears. Sungo appears walking on the street looking at his phone. This guy actually did it in the end. There is an alert on his phone, Lost Fly Fill-in Server 1, Orc Village server clears. This is Shinera PC and Sungo sees Jae-jung sleeping on a chair, and Sungo wonders, does he even have a home? He's like this every day. No wonder Sooyoung Nuna keeps saying she'll kill him. Someone comes and says excuse me. Juho says yes, he will be right there. Jae-jung is still sleeping, Sungo is working on the computer, the Lost Sky user forum appears, Sungo sees that the orc village has changed into a player village, and the sale of spell books has begun. Jae-jung comes in, saying, oh, my head, and Sungo says it's not yet. Jaejung drinks something and says, that hits the spot. He asked did he hear about my triumph across the server. Juho asked what dropped. Jaejung asked if he wants to know. Jaejung can't seem to talk because he is hungry. Juho says he is unbelievable. Someone ask you're online. Warrior says, did he see the altar server 1 kill the orc chief? Juho says yes, he did. They really are a country of crazy eye gaming, having already killed the orc chief. Warrior says he would like to know who he is and what his job is. That crazy person is currently hobbling at the Shinera PC cafe. Charming asks if there is no notice about their server raiding. Warrior says they say that their server has a raid party ready, but there's disagreement about how the reward will be split up, so they are still negotiating. Juho says the rumor about server 1's reward did spread far and wide. Warrior asks so Juho knew as well and he says he heard it from some crazy person he knew. Jaejung asks about the chief glaives and 100 upgrade stones. Jaejung says because these are the first upgrade stones to drop, their price is like gold. Sungo says that's amazing. While eating a burger, Jaejung says there's nothing amazing about it. Out of the 40 raid members, only 3 didn't die. He asks isn't that too harsh? Charming eats something and says she can actually taste it for real. They are eating food. Juho says it really is cool. The warrior wonders if he still feels full when he leaves the game. If that were possible, he would just play games all day. Warriors gets a DM, and he asks would they guys be interested in the chief raid by any chance. Charming asks can they practice. Juho says from what he knows, for such a raid, only the best teams from the server are picked. Warrior says an acquaintance of his just told him that the top teams just ended up splitting up. Because they couldn't come to an agreement, now they're busy trying to fill spots. Juho thinks according to Jaejung, it was hard even with the most elite chosen members. There is complete silence. Juho asks why don't they share their opinion on this. A team appears. This is standby squad and they ask what are they guys are doing is protecting the mage, they are dying off. They are fighting with the mage. A guy says what's the damage, another teammate says almost all of their mages have been wiped out. They can't beat this if this is how this starts off. The Vanguard Shield squad and Standby squad aren't cooperating. The guy asks why is this muscle pig bastard so fast? Another says anyway, they have to endure until his phase change. He asks he think he don't know that, but look, they are all panicking. They ask Mage to stop it there, someone asks what is the Shield squad doing. Another says he is too fast, they can't stop him. Another asks what's the monster dex anyway. The guy says damn it, they are fucked. A guy asks all team leaders to deploy half of your squad right now. They need to fill the empty gaps so the chief can't rampage anymore. The warrior hears all this. He says they doesn't know how his dex is, but they say that they can't stop his charge. Now that he think about it, he thinks it's set to be prioritized. Range attackers over melee attackers. Juho thinks he is right, there is the shield squad pulling a Gru and the melee squad right in front of him, but he jumps over them to charge at the ranged attackers. The pretty girl says over there, mage attack on them, warrior stops him with his shield but can't, Charming shouts, Mr. Shield. Now Juho is facing mage, but another guy comes and mage attack him. Now he is going to attack Charming, but Juho turns around and Juho says to the mage, don't he dare ignore him. He attacks the monster and hits him, but nothing happens. He thinks what's going on as he swear he made a direct hit. A guys ask everyone to check their status and restore formation. A monster appears. A guy asks everyone to be careful, he is moving on to the next phase. Monster red eyes appear. Juho appears and thinks did the monster just looks at him. The monster is howling, and one guy says his body won't listen to him. Juho thinks he let his guard down even though Jaejung told him he had a howl attack. Monster attacks on teams. Jafo says damn it. A guys ask standby squad to go in. Pretty girl attacks monster. Juho noticed that he was freed from the stun. He asks why is that and could it be? The monster is howling. Juho thinks he has nothing to lose and it's worth a shot. He says it worked and he can move, he can awaken his senses by indulging in pain before the stun. A monster is attacking people. Joho thinks the howl isn't the only problem and asks how they are supposed to kill it in the first place. Warrior says this round is a lost cause. Warrior apologizes for dragging him into this. Joho says it does seem that way. Joho says it's okay, it was a good learning opportunity. He realized that hearing and experiencing are two different things. But it will be different next time around. The next day, this JS Shinera PC and Sungo says good morning. Jaejung asked did he succeed in his raid. Sungo first showed the victory sign, then Saj. Jaejung lags. They are eating noodles. Jaejung says there is no way he would be able to kill it. With such a shitty ragtag group. He says if he really want to play properly, come on his server. When they have expanded the server, let his big bro raise him. Sungo says he will think about it. Jaejung says what he thinks about it. He know that his team doesn't take anyone in, even if they are begging. Sungo says it's not that, it's just that he gets along with his current team really well. Jaejung winks and says, alright, let's circle back to this when they expanded servers. He asks so is he going to challenge the orc chief? He says it's going to be tough with that shy group. Sungo says he don't think they can do it with them. They don't harmonize well at all. Jaejung says he will have to join another team, but that will take a long time. Sungo says he wonders about that. Warrior asks what's just 4 of them. Charming asks how are they supposed to do something that even 40 people couldn't do. Joho says, they know how H was the last one that died during the chief raid yesterday. Charming says, yeah and asks didn't he die about 10 minutes after the rest of them. Joho says he did a few tests during that time, and he concluded that. Warrior says they can clear it with just 4 of them. Joho says it's not 100% certain, but he found a bit of possibility. The warrior asks, don't he think it will be hard even if it's him? Joho says to just think of it as a hardcore challenge and could he come along with me just this once? This is Orc Valley entrance. Charming says it's weird entering a place with 4 when they entered at 40 yesterday. Warrior says it is going to be epic if they succeed. Joho says yes and asks them to let's start first by cooking our prey properly. The monster is sitting on the stone. Warrior says it's nice seeing the monster again and tells the monster that are back. Charming and Warrior slams. Joho says to Warrior, they will need him to do his best at the start. Joho is a trusting warrior. Warrior says, yeah, leave it to him. Joho says to Charming and Pretty that they will go right away. Both girls says they are ready. A pretty girl and charming man are ready. Joho says then let's start. The monster stands up and says, how dare he aim for his altar. He says they will pay for this with their lives. He noticed Mr. Shield. The warrior asks him to fight him. Joho says now, monster hears from back. Joho and Pretty Girl appear. Pretty Girl is running towards Joho. Joho asks Pretty Girl to jumps. She jump with the help of Joho and goes on the cliff. Now Miss Charming jumps and goes on the cliff. Pretty Girl says to Shield that they are all up here. Shield Warrior is stuck in stopping the monster. Joho with his sword changes the view of the monster, and Mr. Shield quickly gets into the cliff. Charming, Pretty Girl, and Shield are on the cliff, and Joho is on the ground. Warrior says this is terrifying, he doesn't think he can do this again. Monster and Joho look at each other and he says alright, let's have some fun. Monster attacks Joho. Joho thinks he definitely has a really high dexterity, just look at his speed, but his movements are simple. Joho asks if everyone is ready, just go ham on him when he enters your range. This is Charming who throws a magic arrow, the Pretty Girl and Warrior also throw arrows at the monster, who howls. They are in a gulp. Joho thinks and asks Monster to look at him. He says please be a real stupid retard. Joho says thanks for being as dumb as a rock. This is agriculture land. And Sungo is driving a tractor. He says this year's harvest is truly bountiful. Monster attack on Joho. He asks everyone to attack. Charming throws a magic arrow into the monster. He says good and asks them keep whittling it down like that. Joho thinks where did it go? A monster appears in Joho's back, he is going to punch Joho. Joho gets aside and he says no, he don't. He seems this as shit and he asks Joho is going to get hit. Joho with his two swords attack of the monster. They are both having a great fight. They both disappeared because of smoke. His teammates ask, is Joho okay? Joho appears and he was almost taken out in a single hit. He thinks even though he only grazed Joho and took half of his HP. He asks, could it be? Sungo remember what the doctor has told Sungo to be aware of, because even with the RTPS restrictor, being logged in for an extended period of time or raising his focus too high will cause him to experience the same problem as before. Joho thinks this is bad and asks why did this have to be now of all times. He says he is changing to his howling phase. He asks himself to get his head in the game. Joho's teammates ask Joho to snaps out of it, and Joho appears like smoke. He says thanks for walking him up, he was just starting to feel sleepy. He says it might be a game, but it still feels like real shitty harming himself. It's fine to finish this. The monster attacks on Joho, but missed. Joho attacks on monster. He thinks he has to focus so he gets hit as little as possible, but no matter how carefully he focused, doing this for an extended period of time isn't good. Not to mention he will run out of potions soon. Joho smashes punches on monster. He asks what did he eat to become so tough anyway. He says this is bad, even out of all the potions Charming gave him. Charming asks should come down from here. Joho says no. Rather than coming down QND, all of them being in danger. He asks them to focus on a single spot on his signal. He will also continually attack and try to get even more critical hits than now. Warrior ASL isn't that too dangerous. Joho says even if they can't get it on the next try, he is going down anyway. He says okay, it's do or die. He thinks let's go for it. He says the monster is going to howl. Monster howls. Joho Saya he think he is going to just let him do as he please. He thinks it's time to risk it all. Monster is howling and Joho is attacking him. Joho again smashed a sword into monster back. Monster turn around and punches Joho, but Joho gets aside. Joho attacks on his face. Monster again attacks on Joho with his weapon, but Joho gets aside. Now Joho sword and monster weapon smashed into each other. Monster and Joho are looking at each other. Joho attacks on the monster weapon, and when the monster weapon is thrown into the ground, Joho attacks on the leg of the monster. Joho bows down. Now all the teammates together attack the monster, who dies already, and Joho stands on the chest of the monster and puts both of his swords into the monster's chest. The monster dies and disappears. It's over, a golden light falls on Joho, and Joho is lying on the ground. Other teammates happily comes down. This is White Bones' raid. A team is fighting the monster. Someone asks attackers, what are these retards doing? They are not doing any damage. A guy says to the shield squad that he needs to protect mages and archers. The guy gets angry. AMD says god fucking damn it, this is shitty ass game. This is Gong Gyuk's raid and standby squad pulls out. Shield squad surrounds him, and mages fire full charges. Someone says they might get him soon at this rate. A guy with pink hair asks do he know how much are they spend on this. He says they need to see through this. Are his currency in the world of Lost Sky. Someone says let's finish this. They look at the red sky, there is a golden light. The pink-haired guy says this has never happened before. A guy asks Gong Gyuk to look over there. A monster around people appears. Gong Gyuk asks what's going on. The other guy says he thinks they were too late. Gong Gyuk asks what do he mean. The guy says he thinks someone else finished their raid first. Gong Gyuk gets a shock and he laughs. This is White Bones' raid. A man with white hair smashed his sword into a rock. He says just wait and ask why so salty. Joho appears laying on the ground, and he utters, the sky is yellow. Teammates say, Mr. Joho, they really did it. The warrior says he can't believe Joho actually did something epic. Joho says his legs are shaking. Charming says it's like a dream, they really did it, just the four of them. The warrior asks Mr. Joho, why don't he share your feelings? Joho asks him if he is recording. Warrior says he will record Joho's amazing performance. He will keep the edited version as well as the original video, so tell him if he ever needs it. Charming says she thought she was going to have a heart attack while watching from above. Joho says he felt like he had quite a few encounters. Warrior says now let's reap the bounty of their victory. Juho says let's do that. Bounty appears. The warrior says so this is the rumored orc chief's glaive. Charming says there are also a lot of spells that she has never heard before. Pretty Girls says there is upgrade stones, there are a lot of them. Warrior says there are plenty to go around, sharing 40 people's worth between just 4 of them. The 4 of them really did it. Juho asks everyone do they know the real prize of the orc chief raid is something entirely different. Warrior asks about real prize. 3 days ago this is Shinera PC. Sungo asks about Tollpass commission. Jaejung says, yeah, that are keeping this a secret between them but it's a special benefit only given to the first raid party that clears the orc chief quest. As the orc village becomes a refugee village for humans, all players that go through the castle gates have to get a toll pass, and 10% of the toll pass revenue gets shared with the raid party that defeated the orc chief. Sungo asks how much the toll pass is per person. Jaejung says 1,000 and Juho says or so he was told. The whole team wonders. Pretty Girl asks how much is that? Warrior calculates and says if 100,000 people pay 1,000 R each, that will be 100 million R. 10% of that is 10 million R, if 40 people were in the raid, it would be 250k R each, but since there are only 4 of us, it will be 2.5 million R each. Charming says right now, 1,000 R goes for about $10, that means Juho says $2,500. The Warrior, Charming, and Pretty Girl gets a shock. Warrior calculates and says if 100,000 people pay 1,000 R each, that will be 100 million R. 10% of that is 10 million R. If 40 people were in the raid, it would be 250 R each, but since there are only 4 of us, it will be 2.5 million R each. Charming says right now, 1,000 R goes for about $10, that means Juho says $2,500. A Warrior, Charming, and Pretty Girl gets shock. Warrior falls to the ground, uttering $2,500. Charming asks but are they going to be okay? The next morning, Sungo is laying on his bed. He checks his phone, there are no messages. He feels anxious. This is Shinera PC. Sungo feels so anxious he thinks he didn't get a wink of sleep, and now his head is going to feel like it's going to burst. A Lost Sky temporary maintenance notice appears on his phone. He gets a shock and says it's here. Sungo is using a computer, and there are messages like why the hell is this game making temporary maintenance? Does anyone know what this maintenance is for? What's being patched? What a good patch. It was honestly way too fucking hard before. Did they make it out safe? Sungo read it thoroughly, but there is no mention of restrictions on any specific people. He thinks they just changed the alter terrain so people can't cross it. After that bit of relief, he now feels sleepy. Jaejung comes and asks him did he see the patch. Jaejung came with burgers in his hand and he is angry. He says after the pain he went through to beat it, they nerfed him. This is refugee village and Sungo thinks so the orc village has turned into a refugee like this. A message appears, dear users. Hello, this is the Lost Sky admin team. After your quest yesterday, the admin team reviewed your raid footage and had a long internal meeting. We won't beat around the bush, our policy is that there is no terrain that a player is not allowed to use in Lost Sky, an open-world game. The Warrior reads it and says sweet. Charming says now they're going to recognize it as valid without any penalty. Juho says that's how it reads to him. Warrior says they are letting it slide with just a patch, how wise of them. Charming says she really worried because of how big the commission is. Juho says he was also full of anxiety all day. The Warrior asks then shall we split up the reward? Protection shield, fire arrow, bind, light. Charming asks Fan she have all these. Juho says she is the only one of them who can use them. Charming says she is even more in their debt now. Juho asks her to not think of it as a debt. Warrior says yes, the stronger she is, the better it is for them. Juho says what they should do with this glance. Warrior says it's heavy, it's a weapon that requires 2 hands, so he don't think he can use it with a shield. Shield fetishist. Charming says it won't look cool if a mage wields a glaive. Juho says, yeah, it would look a bit odd. It has really good specs, so it's tempting, but the specs are Orc Chief Glaive Attack 591 STR. Juho says to Ms. Pretty that she should take it, he feels more comfortable dual wielding a sword. Ms. Pretty looks at it and thinks. Juho says if it isn't to her liking, they can sell it. Ms. Pretty says she will give it a try. Warrior says it looks perfect on this pretty girl. Juho asks now why don't try divide up the upgrade stones. People appear, a girl says what? A voice comes from the fort which says you are going to try it again. Juho says he is just watching and sweating. Warrior says how dare she apply upgrade stones consecutively to a super rare item like that? Ms. Pretty Girl says she is going to try it again. The system says upgrade successfully to 4 Orc Chief Glaive attack 5+4 to 9+4. Juho says luckily, she succeeded. Warrior says to be able to get it to +4 in one go, she is really gusty. Charming wants to try once more. They try to stop her. This is lycanthrope area. Lycanthrope means someone suffering from lycanthropy, the professed ability or power of a human being to transform into a wolf. Juho thanks Shield Warrior Nim for preparing equipment like this. Warrior says it's because he enters the game earlier, and it wasn't that hard to get that equipment. Charming says this environment here is very eerie, she says she likes the forest, she felt like she was healing. Juho says he only sees rocks around here. One of the Forgotten Castles is listed here. Forgotten Castle is a quest. A total of 5 Forgotten Castles of the Baron family are kneeled down. Under the lycanthropy, the lycans slope out of the deserted castles and reclaim the territory. Juho says there will be a final named boss in the region. Warrior says it's just that no user has ever found these castles. It will get noisy again if someone finds it. Juho says he hopes they will get that opportunity too. Warrior says scary pretty girl, Nim, what happened yesterday was really shocking. Juho says she strengthened that super rare item until +5. Warrior says if Charming hadn't taken away those crystals, she would have continued until it exploded. Juho agrees. This is Western Wolf's Cave. Charming is doing some magic, the golden light of a bird appeared and flew. She asks but why are they in the dungeon already or shouldn't they be in the field? Juho asks Warrior why did they skip the field and he tells him that people are crowded in the field, so it is hard to even get a sport. With their item that they bought by using the pass fees and the money they have gotten from selling the items. There won't be any problem if they enter the dungeon right away. Juho asks so they will just clear this with their great items. Warrior says of course, it's not just the items that the warrior trusts, he also believes in their capabilities. Charming says it's a good thing as she has already learned about light. Juho says it is really useful in dungeons. They don't have to walk around with the torch in their hands. The warrior says he understands why there are no people in the dungeon, but he doesn't know why there are no monsters. Charming says since it's a maze, they don't know when they might run into a monster. So be careful. Pretty is watching the light. There is a monster appearing. The warrior says he bets they will get hurt a lot if they get bitten. Charming says it's completely different from the wolves they have hunted in the forest. Pretty girl says those were cute since they looked like dogs. All of them seems it really weird. Warrior says they can see right away that it's strong so ask everyone to be careful. He says it's coming, be prepared. The monster attacks Mr. Shield and he says it is so strong. Mr. Warrior is stopping the monster with his shield, he will assist him. Juho comes and says seriously. He attacks the monster, and the monster attacks right back, even after getting badly slashed. Juho attacks on his legs, then his neck. Juho thinks his reaction algorithm is different from the orc mobs, which were simple. He's definitely powerful and agile too. It's not like it can't react to that, but Juho can't deal much damage to him. Charming throws a magic arrow. Juho says is it just him or is the magic force weaker? Charming says if she fully charges it, it will read her energy and recognize her. If that happens, the accuracy will decrease. Warrior says just as they get stronger, the mobs also get stronger. Charming asks Pretty shall we try what we have prepared? Pretty says she is ready. Charming starts doing magic, bind, and veins appear and bind the monster. Now, Miss Pretty jumps and attacks the monster with glaive. Charming binds the monster with her magic, and the pretty girl attacks the monster. Nice skill name out there. Juho says not just that she said it 5 times already. The monster disappears. She did it. Charming and pretty girl appears. Joho asks when did they become so close. Joho says to Charming that Bind's skill is so useful. Warrior says it seems like their teamwork is getting better and better. And everyone is getting stronger too. Joho appears and attacks the monster. This bastardly, pretty girl appears on his back and says she is going to finish him up. She attacks the monster's back, and the monster dies. Joho says as soon as they get out of this dungeon, he's going to need a new wolf sword. The warrior says it's probably a forest-type sword. It's an entry-level sword from the previous dungeon. Inventory appears. Joho says he will use a wolf sword then. Warrior says nice choice. Charming calls Joho and asks what's that. Joho sees it and asks if it is that. Warrior says a wolf crystal. Joho says but what is the use of this? Warrior says do he remember the blacksmith in the evacuation village? He says there are loads of materials they can make out of this material. At the blacksmith, if you give them a sufficient amount of it, they will be able to make you a weapon. Joho asks what kind of weapons. Warrior says there are a lot of weapons they can make with it, such as swords, bows, arrows, shields, and artifacts. All of them Saya it has many items. The official launch of Lost Sky will be on August 12th. The game Lost Sky is protected and selected as the official 4th generation VR game and will soon start its beta service. However, they said the service is paid, and it's expected that some users might leave the service. While the popularity of the game is still soaring, the official service of the game will be available worldwide, and it's expected to increase its player base soon. Boss, Jae-jung, and Sungo are eating food. When the boss says let's just try it, Jae-jung says yes sir. Sungo thinks is it just him or is their relationship like a crocodile and a bird? Jae-jung a formal professional player and now his game mate he would rather play than manage a PC shop. However, he is not good at games anymore, so his boss is helping Jae-jung. Those two have a really good relationship. He guesses it would be fun if he joined them too. Sungo is jealous of Jae-jung, he eats Jae-jung dumplings. That's so rude, but Sungo feels so good. Be the Lost Sky Online the official service doesn't really change anything, but what really stands out is that users from around the world can now use this service. Due to the large server expansion. Jae-jung asks Sungo why don't you join their server? He says there will be lots of players playing this game due to the larger server expansion, and he still has some time to join before the server reaches its limit. Sungo says he is quite busy on his server these days. If he wants to switch to another server, you need to change his playmate. And someone has to watch over PC Lounge. Jae-jung is going to kiss Sungo, saying, that's right, you are so blessed. Hey, stop doing that. He asks Jae-jung if he knows anything about the West Wolf Denver. He says of course he knows there are a lot of crazy moves in there, but isn't it that difficult to enter? Sungo asks why. He says he need to wear wolf set armor and he EED to define his swords or else it will be very difficult to defeat the mobs in there. The second floor is a spear and an archer type stage, the third floor consists of warrior and sorcery type wolves, and the fourth floor combines all the wolf types from the second and third floors. And the fifth floor is the main attraction. Sungo asks what's on the fifth floor. Jae-jung says the fifth floor is where the twin head is. The system says welcome to the world of Lost Sky, brainwave check. Sungo male, character name Joho 12. West Wolf Cave Joho's team is right with the wolf. He asks have they been here all along? Pretty girl says welcome, and he thanks in particular. Warrior says he is sorry to say this. Since Joho just arrived he asks can they go back to the village now. He says his inventory is so heavy. Charming says she is also having a hard time moving around. She thinks it's the inventory. Joho says he guesses she has gathered too early and asks then shall they go now. A green stone appears in the village. Charming says there are so many people here every time they visit this place. Warrior says they might even get lost if they don't focus. Joho says, let's get somewhere to arrange their stuff. He thinks they have to arrange the items except for the wolf crystal and strengthening stone. He asks Charming and Pretty to see them later. Warrior says it is so hard to sell these. Joho says yeah, it's even cheaper than the original, but they aren't buying them. Juho says welcome to charming and pretty girl. Warrior ask if they already done selling. They says yes, it's sold out. Warrior ask what as they couldn't even sell half of these even with the lowered prices. Charming says she can see that Juho says he gets it. Warrior says sorry to ask this favor, but could Thry handle this for a while? He is planning to buy some items that he need. Charming says go ahead, they will try to sell these. The pretty girl says she was also having fun. Both wishes good luck to them and leaves. Warrior asks it's like this even in the game. The market appears, and Juho is searching for a sword. Warrior calls Juho ask why did he buy so much. The warrior says he were looking for a wolf sword. Juho says he was really struggling to find this, but couldn't find one. He asks where did he get this. The warrior says he got this from a merchant friend of his. Juho thanks him. The warrior thinks the amount of strengthening stones has increased. He can see them everywhere since the number of players has increased. He thinks the ratio of these strengthening stones increased too. They sell strengthening stone. The red-haired guy appeared, saying he thinks the attack got Orc Chief Glaives. Juho says but the pretty girl is the one who has the Orc Chief smile on their server. This happened before or sometimes just after the inspection. The monster regeneration and division options are reset. Attack has also been playing a lot of games. So right after the inspection, he went to the Orc Chief and killed him. Juho says that is great persistence. But it's a shame that there are several glaives on their server, but Warriors says he can guarantee that there will be no other 5-star glaives. Yohu says yeah, he is right and he is sure about that. Warrior thanks Charming and she says finally. Juho says to Shield Warriors that he is really masters at shopping. Warrior says since you've been playing games for so long, there are a lot of people you know. Charming says they are definitely getting a lot of good things from the Orc Chief raid. She asks or should she say that it's all thanks to Juho. The pretty girl says thanks. All other teammates also give thanks to Juho and he thinks why are they acting like this. He says as they are all set up so let's go. This is West Wolf Cave entrance. Juho says he didn't know that there would be so many people at the entrance already. Warrior says so this was the reason everybody was selling so many strengthening stones. Charming says she can also see a lot of wolf sets. Warrior says he thinks their place went away in just a day. Charming asks now what? Juho says since it comes down to this, let's go to the second basement. This is West Wolf Cave, second basement. Juho says he heard that the mobs here use spears and bows. Since Charming stats are focused on intellect and magic, her defense is very low. Charming should stay back a little, she says she will be careful. Return, currently she says he have 3 empty stones, she will equip these with a bind, a shield, and a fire arrow. Juho says that's good. Juho will hold the torch. The warrior says to follow him. He asks them to wait and 3 monsters appear. He asks Juho and the pretty girl could they both take on the wolves holding spears. The warrior will take care of the archer, and Charming Nim will back him up. Juho and the pretty girl attack the wolves. One wolf throws an arrow at Charming while she is doing magic. Charming creates a fire arrow and throws it at the wolf. The warrior got scared, and he says to Charming that the arrow was coming at her like crazy, but she are not even blinking. She says it's because she has him. He asks what's the person. Wolf appears injured with fire and Charming asks where does he think he is going. She binds the wolf, now the warrior attacks the wolf and says let's see the end of this. Juho kills another wolf, Pretty also kills one. Juho thinks are they done? The warrior is still attacking the wolf and Jfo thinks is he perhaps imitating him. Juho says to warrior that Thry are done. Warrior says let's just let him eat this wolf attack. When a warrior attacks on a wolf, it dies. A crystal appears. He says he couldn't really do it the way Juho did it. Juho thinks this guy really was imitating Juho. A whole team appears to be fighting with the wolves. Now they are standing alone. From one side, many wolves attack them. They run and go onto the cliff. Juho says he doesn't think there is any other way. The warrior says there are 5 archers over there, and here they are with 4 archers and 1 spear. Juho says he thinks this way is much better. He says to Warrior that he can drag the attention of the 2 archers to the maximum possible. Pretty can fight the war wolf with her spear. Charming can support them, and Juho will take care of the rest. The warrior asks is he planning to handle 2 archers all alone? Juho says, well, he guess so. Warrior says he is welcome to think of it, so he should always find a way. He asks then, shall we execute the plan now? The next day, Jaejung asks Sungo what is this and why he is doing this. Sungo says he is doing some image training. Jaejung says double sword ship. He asks, did you see a double sword? He says he must be pretty good at control. Sungo says he just tried it, and it suits him. Jaejung says so that's why he's doing image training now. He looks just like a professional gamer. Sungo says, do you also do this when he is a pro gamer? Jaejung, when he was a pro gamer in the past, says of course every day. He imagines the whole situation over and over in his mind and divides the parts to practice each one of them. It was something like that. Sungo says now you finally sound like a pro gamer. Jaejung says it's all in the past now. He says don't forget to put the word former before the word pro gamer. By the way, even in reality, double swords are not often used, and since they are not used much in the game, it must have been hard to get something like this, but you eventually did. Sungo asks why don't people favor double swords? Jaejung says first of all, since it's focused on the attack, it's hard to defend, and even if we say you somehow blocked the wings of 2 swords, they might be a hindrance to each other. He was searching through the web, he is the only one good at it, and others were just full of crap. Sungo asks he is using a spear. Jaejung says yes, since he got the glaive, so he used it, and it suited him well. Jaejung says but still, there's nothing like a sword and asks isn't that a dream for all players, become a sword master. Sungo says sword master. Jaejung says yeah, using a sword and even sword energy. He asks isn't that cool? He says why is Sungo not saying anything? Sungo says it was embarrassing. Jaejung says you are ashamed of him. He grabs Sungo's neck, and Sungo says it's a joke, it hurts. Warrior says they are barely handling the 2nd floor, don't you think? It's too early to challenge the 3rd floor. Charming says she hears that there will be a magician on the 3rd floor. Would that be okay? Juho says they have to get the magicians. Charming asks about RH magicians, says why. Juho says the items dropped by the war wolf magician are really great. Warrior says he didn't hear anything about that from the rumors and asks what kind of items. Juho says he heard that the war magician dropped a magic book. Charming says they can get the magic book here too. Juho says he heard that they dropped the sword chi skill magic book. The warrior shows him and says, he mean this chi sword. Juho asks why are they looking at him like this? This skill has always existed. Charming asks but isn't that a skill learned by magicians? Juho says since Lost Sky doesn't have a particular job, anyone can learn. Charming says right, but even if anyone can learn magic, they have to reach at least intellect 2 in order to get a slot. Juho says that's why he was thinking of increasing his intellect when he leveled up. Warrior asks about 2 and says that much. Then they have to level up 4 times, that's too much, Charming says, but there are accessories and ask what if you use one. Juho says he haven't thought about that, but he guessed that will do. Warrior says he guessed they have to get all the souls of wolves here and make accessories. Charming says but that might be hard because the drop rate of wolf soul has gone down. Pretty girl says but still she think that will be cool. If they had 1 sword chi. Juho and Warrior says she's right, it would be cool. A magic sword, man, that would be awesome. Charming asked to Juho where did he get such information from. He says it was someone who was a former pro gamer who told him. She asks about pro gamer former. He says thinking about him gives Juho a headache. This is dungeon basement, 3rd floor entrance. Warrior says then now. A man says that's the 3rd floor. Juho says thanks and says but they know already. He says, with only 4 of you guys. The warrior says, do you have a problem? He says no, he just asked him in case he wasn't aware. The warrior and the guy look into each other's eyes. Guy says good luck to them, but he is sure they will retreat crying. Warrior asks who is that annoying asshole. Being cocky with an ugly shield. What is this tension between two similar types of people? Warrior says they're going down, but it's getting brighter compared to the second floor. The warrior thinks it's okay to put out the torch. Juho says, yeah, it seems like the third floor is bright. Charming says it seems like there aren't many people who come down to the third floor. It's really quiet. Juho says he agree and ask why there is no people. Warrior says the mobs and it's Theob that first attack. Monsters attack them. Warrior says this is really serious, everyone shouldn't get bumped. Charming does the magic bind but she says it doesn't work, she can't tie them. Juho tells the warrior to endure for a little while longer. Juho starts attacking the monster. He thinks how high is this bastard's agility. Everyone in its attack is stronger. Juho is fighting with the monster. He thinks this bastard is getting stronger. They just came down one floor, but the level became hell. The pretty girl attacks the monster with glaive and pushes the monster back. Warrior HP is getting low. Juho says the pretty girl to go to the warrior, he will take care of this place. He thinks B will abandon making big moves and scratch them with short moves. He will lessen the length of rotation, by reducing the distance, he will stretch his arm and increase the speed. He will increase it so much that they can't catch up. Fire arrow. The pretty girl is attacking a monster. Warrior says he thinks it was a bad idea. He thought they were going to die here. Pretty girl says they are strong. Charming says she was shocked as the binding didn't work. Juho says he thinks those monsters' levels were 20, 22, and currently, excluding Juho, the other team members' levels are 15, and he who has played less is on level 13. Juho says the level gap they have with the monster is too large. Charming asks how many potions did they use. He says 7 by Warrior, 8 by Pretty Girl, none by Charming, and 3 by Juho. Juho says they used a lot of potions. He remembers the guy saying he would regret it. Charming calls Juho to look. He says they killed 2 war wolves, and they got to the wolf souls. This drop rate means it's a good place. The boss's daughter says to Sungo what is he doing every night. She asks if he sees porn again. He says he told her it's not like that. He gets angry and says it's not like that. He was working hard on a good place in the Lost Sky overnight, which is why he is lacking sleep. She says he play that game too. She heard that he doesn't play games, though. Sungo says well he ended up playing. She says good for him and he asks why. He remembers Lost Sky students can't play it, even if they want to. He says right Lost Sky is not allowed for the minor. He saw that they were too furious on a notice board. They are terrorizing the Lost Sky notice board and even the Game Management Committee homepage every day. He says busy teenagers of Korea. VRS appears to be Jae-jung, and the boss came out saying they did their best today. She says, is it just the teenagers who are busy? Look at those ministers who are busy. Sungo laughs and says absolutely, he agrees. She says since dad came out, she is going home. He asks is she going to leave without a greeting? She says no need, she sees him every day in the house and store. What a cool kid. Boss and Jae-jung came uttering water, and Sungo, holding water, says, they came out earlier than they used to. The rest area appears. Food appears, and they thought they were going to die. Sungo think they are like father and son. The boss says they finally did it. Sungo says, did he get something good? THS boss says of course they got the twin-headed war wolf. They are the first one on their server. Jae-jung says he thinks they are the first out of all the servers. Sungo says amazing as he couldn't even get through the 3rd floor. But someone already cleared the name of the boss on the 5th floor. Jae-jung says if he's going to get it, it's better to be on the first one. So that it will give all the items it can. Sungo thinks B can't get that thrill. He asks how was the twin head? They says they can't just tell him without getting something to eat. Sungo says what can they possibly eat after eating that much? The boss asks Jae-jung don't he want pig feet? Jae-jung says why does the boss food taste this nice? Jae-jung says, do he think they should also mix spicy pig feet? The boss says he is sure Sungo will order half and half if he has good sense. Sungo thinks, are they shooting a comedy show? The system says welcome to the world of lost brain waves. Check character name Juho level 14. This is the West Wolf Cave entrance. Juho asks what happened to this place. Warrior says since people gather, a town naturally forms. Charming says well, since the distance to the refugee village is too far but it's a little expensive. Juho says the price has risen from 1.5 to 2 times. Pretty girl says they are thieves. Warrior says but still, thanks to that, it is a good environment. Charming says SEH guess is that it would definitely be comfortable in a situation where they would use a lot of potions, like yesterday. Warrior says but still, they managed to collect a lot of wolf souls. Let's just think that they have exchanged the potions for those. Juho says that was a good business. Warrior says now let's gather more today too. This is West Wolf Cave, 3rd basement. Juho says to Charming, there is something that has popped into his mind. Let him ask her a favor. Charming says Juho is going to ask her a favor. She asks what is it? He says, would she hit him once with arrow? Everyone gets surprised and Warrior asks what kind of hobbies does he have. He says it's not like that, just one light blow. Warrior asks but why the hell? Juho says there is something he would like to test before fighting the magicians. He thinks just like bouncing off an arrow, can the magician be bounced off? She threw a fire arrow. Juho says he guess indeed it doesn't work. Fire caught Juho Nim's arm. What finds it hot and says he was stupid. Warrior asks so he was curious if it was possible to bounce off magic. Warrior says he doesn't think it's possible. Charming says a while ago, the timing was accurate too, and Charming thought he would be able to bounce it off too. Juho says now they know that it's not possible. With an ordinary sword. He thinks and when he got attacked by magic, he was also curious if having a high RTP would increase the pain he felt too. Actually, it wasn't hot, he just said that, as he was so surprised that he got a fire on his arm, should he say it was fortunate? Juho says now that all the preparation is over he asks shall they start to hunt again? Teams are fighting with the monster in the cave. Charming says well, it's definitely better than yesterday. Warrior says, at this rate, don't Juho think that Koreans only eat and play games? Juho says but still, they are progressing this fast. Warrior says it's because he doesn't know much about the people who play games. If they're crazy about games, they spend all their money and time on them. Especially with a big game such as this one. Juho guesses they have to catch up quickly. Warrior laughs. The magician wolf attacks Charming, and she attacks back at the magician with a fire arrow. With good control and timing sense. They are filling the gap. At first, the shield warrior didn't know what to do. Now he's good. Pretty girl appears and attacks the monster. Their attack route is simple, but each of their attacks is really painful. Awesome, they are all getting better with each passing day. Juho says, let's drop playing on the 3rd floor and go further down. Warrior says he heard that, the monster on the 4th floor, bind together and come out in the form of a group of at least 5 monsters. Juho says, do he think they should join with other parties too? Pretty girl says she is okay with playing just with them. Charming also feels comfortable only playing in this group. Warriors don't mind whatever happens. Shield warriors have a lot of experience, but it's uncomfortable for these two. Charming says the buff is over, so she will put on another one. Juho says then let's just do this on their own. Charming does the magic of protecting shields. Protect shield has the effect of increasing all the defenses. On by armors 1. Juho is looking at Charming. The warrior says, what is it? Juho says he don't know if it would work. But he got a really good idea. Charming that magic can only be used on herself. She says yes, but unfortunately, this magic can't be used on others. Juho says the defense still has the +1. Until the buff duration ends, it will have the same effect. What is it? Juho says she can try taking it off. They say what? Juho says no, that's not what he meant. Sorry, he was in such a hurry that he made a mistake. He asked to Charming can she give him any of the equipment that she is wearing? Charming takes off her outfit and says, will that be okay? Juho says yeah, he knew it. Warrior says why? Juho says as he can see, even if I wear the cape and take it off, the buff of defense +1 is still here. Charming says then she can wear it, put it on the buff, and give it to the others. There is one more thing he would like to try. Warrior says what is it? Wolf Cave, 5th basement. A wolf with 2 heads appears. Twin-headed war wolf. Warrior is kind of scared, as he has seen it personally now. It looks really strong. Indeed, but in this state, they can definitely kill it. Warrior will try fighting it first. The war wolf roars and attacks on the shield warrior. Warrior says it worked, his health didn't drop. Wolf attacks the whole team with fire. Warrior says he got a little scared with his looks, but his health won't go down should they start beating him up. Juho says let's go. Wolf roars and attacks, Juho is stopping his attack. It won't work, bastard, just give them the rewards already. Yesterday, protect shield, defense +1, all of them were looking charming. Juho expected this, but Charming is sure that this will definitely cause a problem. Protective shield, Charming don't think this is a problem, she think this will be a problem. Juho says to Charming, if she exchanges items with someone and uses a productive shield on it, her defense points on that protective shield keeps increasing. The warrior is sure that's a bug, but he can tell that will be handy for them. Juho thinks this is quite different from the bugs he has seen so far, he was being happy for no reason. Warrior says anyway, it's such a waste if they don't use this to their advantage. But if a few of them use it, it's true that they can take it as an advantage. But is it allowed for everyone to use it? Juho asks Warrior what do he mean by that? Warrior says in the past, bugs have existed. In the 2nd and 3rd generation patches, the problem is that some bugs are mainly used by other public players. By doing so, the company had no choice but to update the game and make bug fixes. Warrior says then for him, neither more nor less can they give him just one day to fix this. The next day, people are talking, hey, did you hear about the protective shield? What's wrong? I am looking for someone who can use a protective shield. Anyone who has a protective shield, players who can use protective shields, I will receive a cash payment. Please, master of the protective shield, join our party. And notice that it appears to share this message continually. To add defense points on your protective shield. Greetings, we are Game Tips and Tricks. A team appears to be receiving protective shields. Charming appears to be receiving protective shields, but it takes a while. Juho says thanks to Charming it's not easy for a person to replenish 20 mana at a time. She's glad they can do 20 this time. Warrior thinks 20 is not enough, he wonders what will happen if they do 100. There is not much difference. Charming says if you want 100 times the mana, she will just leave quietly. Cave appears, and they are fighting with the wolves coming in the route. They are almost there. Warrior says this is the entrance for the 5th floor. Juho says the 5th floor is occupied by the twin-headed werewolf. Let's go in right away. Just hang in there, and they will come right to you. Juho appears, attacks the twin-headed wolf, and kills it. Finally, they did it. Charming asks Juho is he okay? Lost Sky user dashboard appears, is this really working? I am not kidding, it's working. I am using all the cows right now, will I get banned? From 10 to 20. They will be having emergency maintenance. They will ask the players for their understanding and patience while waiting until the maintenance is complete. Will Zune be okay? Zune is a Lost Sky developer. Warrior appears, saying so for him neither more nor less can they give him just one day to fix this. Juho is thinking what in the world is he going to do to solve all the problems around the game in just one day? He doesn't know, but that's weird. Juho hopes everything goes well. Juho appears to be sleeping in bed. Juho is in dream he is running from the trine. He hide behind a rock. Where is he? From Juho's back, a monster appears, attacking him. He gets aside, his weapon is not showing up. The monster again attacks him. Oh my god, he almost died there. What the hell is he doing right now? A twin-headed wolf appears. He thinks he is screwed. Trine and the monster come from the back. He says, "And you just think he would just run away from a bunch of bastards like you. I will beat you up again and again." A monster, Trine, and twin-headed wolf appear, all of them are going to attack Juho. His team appears standing in front of him. He says, "Don't do this to him, don't leave him alone." Juho wakes up. What kind of nightmare is that? On his phone, there is a message of DSU Hyesian. Is he there? She think they have a problem. Bus and road appears. There is message on Sungo phone, he is look at it. Sungo thinks what problem is she talking about? Won't he be able to use VRS again from now on or something? If that happens, that would make him feel very low. The doctor appears, she says she is very sorry. Sungo asks did something happen to him? She says they made a mistake. Sungo asks, so what is the mistake she is talking about? She says the personal information about Sungo went over to PV. Sungo says what? What does that mean? So, what problem would that cause? She says the US, DS, and PV are rivals, as they have reached the 4th generation, our DS has surpassed PV for the first time in our country. But of course, if they consider other countries, those PV guys are above them. Sungo asks so. She says when it comes to developing scale and capability, PV is way better than them. Sungo says he didn't know that there was such a big gap. She says, until now, whenever PV develops something ahead of them, they at the DS are chasing them behind, but this time their 4th generation VRS was sold. With a much cheaper price and similar technology. Both support RTP 400. Sungo says so the PV was curious about how DS improved their technology and planted a spy. And that spy stole Sungo's information? Sungo says these people seriously. Dr. Girl says she is really sorry. This is all their fault. He says the thing that was most helpful in improving their technology was, Sungo says of course, him. He asks so what will happen to him from now on? Girl asks did the guys from PV perhaps contact him in any way? He says contact. He gets a lot of messages and calls, but he doesn't really reply to unknown numbers. He shows her his phone and says, is this a number? She shouts, it's that bastard number, so he really was trying to do something. She grabs his hand and says, Sungo, you should never go to PV, please. This woman is so tiring. He is at Shinera PC. The boss says you came Sungo, they got a guest. Guest? He looks at her phone. This number is a guy says hello to Mr. Sungo. He couldn't call him, so they came here to see him personally. What's wrong this day? So tiring, he feels like he did something a lot. This whole day, whether it's PV or DS, that's not what's important. Well, there is nothing special. Sungo is working on computer. The Lost Sky user notice board appears. Why the hell does this game always have inspections? I already used the protection shield as much as I could. What if they take back everything after the inspection? He don't feel good about this. Scary. Welcome to the world of Lost Sky. Check the character name. Juho level 15, Refugee Village notice board, fixed protect shield bug, minimum damage is added on armor, items can't be unequipped after putting on a protective shield, a message box appears. No penalty, he doesn't know about the others, but at least for him there is none, and this time too, nothing happened. Thanks for the meal. Juho obtained a twin-headed war-wolf flame sword and a twin-headed war-wolf ice sword. Shield Warrior received a massive twin-headed shield. The light is getting brighter this time too. Charming obtained a fireball, an ice ball magic scroll, and a war-wolf staff. Pretty Girl obtained a light sword magic grant. It will just contain magic, but it won't have sword chi, like they heard from the rumors. Juho says everyone should divide these. Sungo lays down on his bed, and his watch turns red. Sungo will get going. Okay, see you soon, Sungo. Sungo is sitting in the bus looking at his phone and thinking she must be so worried that he might get taken away by PV. The doctor appears, calling Sungo. Yes, he is here. She asks him if he contracted with PV. This woman is really good at asking questions that cross the line. It's hard for him to get the right timing to get mad at her. He says no, but how did she know about that? Sungo says it must not only be the PV but also the DS who put a spy inside. They are so lax. She says, well, it's just some sort of competition between the companies. First, he answered her question again, he said no to them. She says, then with their DS, let's. Sungo says no, it's also no for the DS. She asks why. Sungo says currently he has no plans at all to participate in any of the research, whether it's DS or PV. That guy says to him that he understands, just contact the PV right away when Sungo changes his mind. They will definitely pay Sungo more than DS. Welcome to the world of Lost Sky, Sungo male, character name Juho level 15. Warrior appears and asks Juho if he is perhaps interested in guilds. Juho says why so suddenly? Refugee Town Square. Juho says to Warrior is he talking about the guilds, like the raid items previously? Warrior says yes, but this time they're not looking for a temporary mercenary but someone who can keep on working with them. Juho says but the Lost Sky doesn't have a proper concept of guilds. Warrior says to Juho if he checked the previous games of this Zune company, they mostly start the guild with 30 people. Juho says so Warrior wants them to at least get the minimum number of members. Warrior says yes. Juho says to Warrior but he is saying someone else is looking for the members instead of saying he is making a plan to form a guild. Warrior says yeah, he just got this information through multiple connections, so he don't want any more details. Juho says he would be okay with this right away if the Warrior was planning to make one, but since it's from different connections, he is a little hesitant. What did the charming and pretty girl say about this? Warrior says he wants to ask Juho first. Juho says, then let's talk about this with them. Charming says so this man named Thousand Words is making a guild, but warriors don't know him, right? Warrior says yeah, he just got in contact through connections. Charming asks so he doesn't know what kind of guild this would be. Warrior says depending on the guilds, they have specific goals like only targeting named monsters, places, and others, but warriors don't know much about this one. They wanted to go haunting with us together today. Warriors, ask the team what they think. Is that perhaps an audition? Nah, it's just to get to know each other. Juho also thinks that this is just a sort of audition, which he thinks they are trying to check. Warrior didn't think of this that far, but come to think of it, he thinks it would be possible. Should he refuse? They are looking at each other. A blacksmith appears to be working. Juho is level 15, his health is 3+1+1, his agility is 4+1, and his health is 3+1. Magic is 1. What he got new is a werewolf helmet, upper and lower arm armor, leg armor, a twin-headed werewolf flame sword, a werewolf ring for health and strength, and a bracelet and necklace for agility. Forgotten Go Fortress outside the second entrance appears, successfully enforced, with a 4 twin-headed werewolf ice sword. Juho thinks since it was successful until the 4th enforcement, he doesn't want to try more. Juho shouts, girl, Nim, please don't rush this, and she says okay. Juho says seriously, every time she gets the chance, wake up at least he should stay strong. Warrior possesses the 3rd twin-head werewolf war shield. Now are they all ready? Yes. Forgotten Go Fortress outside the second entrance appears, and the warrior is sure there is no one who has items that can be matched to theirs. Charming says the game developer doesn't have good taste. Juho is sure it's not the taste that he likes. Warrior says everyone, before you meet thousands of people, he has someone he would like to introduce them. Pretty girl shouts there's a monster. Bloody werewolf. Warrior says that is one hell of a wolf. Juho says this is good since they are done upgrading their items, why don't they test them out? Warrior is confident in this. It's coming. They are all ready to stop the wolf. The warrior puts his shield in front of the coming wolf. The monster is attacking on shield warrior, he says what the hell is this thing? Pretty girl attacks a wolf with a light sword. Charming does the magic of binding and ice balls and attacks on wolves. Juho says their hit accuracy and power have gone up by a lot. It's Juho's turn now. An arrow appears and it's smashed into the wolf's chest who is standing on the back, the other wolf turns back and looks at the wolf. A girl appears standing on the roof. She says she knows it's quite rude, but she decided to come in as their situation looks dangerous right now. Shield Warrior shouts, "Narsha," she says, "stay focused, stupid. This guy is a tough nut to crack, and now Juho will be cleaning him up." Juho do multiple attacks on wolves and look at his sword and says, "Wow, this item is really good." Now it's all up to the pretty girl. She attacks the wolf's neck and kills it. Even though she's not using a sword, isn't that amount of damage really insane? Then, Juho looks at the warrior, who is still fighting with the wolf, and says, "Where do he think he is going?" 2 arrows smash into a wolf's neck. Ice ball. A wolf is going to attack on the warrior, but pretty girl appears and kills the wolf. Warrior says, "So amazing, isn't it?" Charming says, "Little by little, they are surely getting stronger. The fight gets a lot easier. Thanks to the ice ball skill they use on the monster." Warrior says, "Everyone, let me introduce her. She basically came here right away as he asked her to." Narsha says, "Nice to meet you." She is Narsha. Other teammates introduces themselves, charming her, "I am a pretty girl." Narsha greets her and says again, "My name is Narsha." She has heard a lot about the shield sentinels. "My name is Juho. Nice to meet you." Warrior says he and Narsha are old buddies. She's always wanted to meet these guys. Alongside her guild's Heavenly Blades. Narsha says the Heavenly Blades and other guild members are waiting, please follow her. Inside the Forbidden Place, Outer Zone 2. This is their guild. A man appears, greeting, and he says he is sure they have heard about them from Narsha. They are Heavenly Blades. Juho says, "Nice to meet you." He is Juho. Juho team says, "I am a pretty girl, and I am charming." Guy asks, would they like to join them on their haunt? Or maybe they could go their separate ways. And just cooperate if they need to. Juho says that's much better, they would like to hunt separately. Guy says sure, as long as these guys are comfortable. They're hunting in a team of 5, by the way. Guy further says, well, thanks to Juho for their cooperation. Juho says sure, no problem. Warrior says there's a good spot right there, but there might be lots of mobs patrolling around that area. Some said that it's difficult to hunt in that area unless they can take care of them properly as a team. Juho says so that's why they called them. Juho further says well, then they should start hunting. Warrior says yes, after all, it will be a little hard on their own, just assist when the other guilds need them. Warrior further says they can get a grip on it with the help of the other guild. Juho says, let's see what comes next. Lost Sky announcement, guild system have been updated, a new feature where a guild NPC will always visit the outcast village, using of the guild NPC anyone can use it to create a new guild, and everyone may get various different quests from the grill NPC. Event, a new event called Maybe the Best Guild Wins. More information about the new event is available on the Lost Sky website. Shinera PC Shop, Sungo asked to Jaejung is he going to make a new guild? He says of course, his friend wants him to join a new guild. There will be a lot of players who will be participating too, so they need to move fast. Sungo asks is Jaejung brother going to be the guild leader? Jaejung says he doesn't think he is going to be that. I see. Sungo asks what will the guild name be? Jaejung says he doesn't know, he just hopes that his boss won't be embarrassed about that. Boss laugh and ask Sungo do he want to join their guild too? Their guild is called the Strongest, yes, the Strongest. Welcome to the world of the Lost Sky, brain waves check, Sungo mail. Character name, Juho, level 16. Outcast village. Charming says welcome. Warrior says you are here, he asked Juho did he see the announcement? Juho says yeah, it's about the guild system update. Juho says the Heavenly Blades wanted them to join their guild right away, so let's join just like they said last time. Warrior says to Juho that he will receive a guild application notification soon. Juho says but are there any rules that they need to obey? Juho means it's his first guild he will be joining. Warrior says it's just don't say any curse words. On chat, head over and don't be rude to other guild members. Juho says that's common sense. Warrior laughs. It's nice place to stay, so don't worry. A notification appears have been invited to join a legendary guild. Would they like to accept this request and proceed to join? Warrior says it's here. Juho clicks on yes. The Forbidden Palace's outer zone 2 appears. Warrior says well, they don't have any space. Charming says it seems like there are a lot more players playing in this area than yesterday. Juho says maybe they're just farming here more often now. Charming asks should they do then? Should they now go inside? Warrior says hold on a minute. Juho asks Warrior why is he whispering like that? Who is he talking to? Warrior says the Heavenly Blades just messaged him that there was a spot where they usually are. Charming says that's nice to hear from the guild. Warrior says Narsha wants to join them, is that okay for Juho? Juho says, who? Narsha, the girl he saw yesterday, also wants to be with their team. Juho says oh Narsha, she is the one who's really good at using a bow. Juho asks to other teammate what do they think. Charming says that's cool. Isn't it good that their shield's user friend is going to play with them? Pretty girl hope they get along well with her. Warrior says he has been with her for a while, she's a cool girl, and he knows that they can be friends with her easily. Juho says that's good to hear. Let's go to the place where their guild is waiting for them. The forbidden place in Outer Zone Area 2 appears to be the legendary guild hunting area. Narsha and Juho shake hands. She is glad to see him here. Juho says to her yesterday she was all in one in the fight, so he hopes she takes good care of them. She says she has heard a lot about Juho. It's pressuring. Juho says then it's good to hear they could now hang out with the shield's user friend. Juho says now Charming, Narsha and Pretty let's team up and kill the enemy mobs as much as they in. Let's help each other out. Now let's move on. Juho appears to be attacking the wolf, he is making multiple attacks. He is fighting with a wolf and kills the wolf. Juho look at his sword and says the sword's damage is a lot higher than he thought. Pretty girl appears attacking on the wolf. She almost killed it. Charming and Pretty girl's skills are still somewhat on the intermediate side. Charming, however, was also good at using a bow. But it's safe to say that Narsha is an ace here. Narsha is using a stronger bow that is currently leveled up to 6. Warrior says he will deal with this. Charming is doing ice ball magic, and the Pretty girl is fighting with a wolf. Warrior asks their teamwork isn't that good? It seems like they can actually beat some of the enemies here in the Zone 2 area. Charming says she feels right, it feels like hunting is quite easy. Juho says yeah, they can't even enter this zone without a party of 5. Should they go to Zone 1 instead? Warrior says he will inform the guild about it, but probably not the place where they are. Charming says they need to inform the guild that they are moving now. Juho says it's fine that they got in here, but it's quite a hassle to pass the guild where they are going next. Warrior says isn't that how the gaming community works, right? Juho says let's go to Zone 1 now. The forbidden place is in outer area Zone 1. Charming says the atmosphere here is spooky. When they fought, it almost looked like they were a bunch of brave warriors, but now they seem pretty normal. Juho asked to Narsha is she good? She says yes. She's not scared. Warrior says enemy mob. A twin-headed hellhound appears. Warrior says it seems like a new enemy mob, let's fight it. The monster throws a fireball on the shield warrior. Damn it, he is a tough guy. Juho says to Warrior Nim he can't take him without any buffs and potions. Charming does light healing magic. Warrior says that almost killed the him, thanks to Charming. Charming says she is right here if he needs healing. That was sudden, it looked like it was from Outer Zone Area 2 and made its way into Area 1. Juho says he will go in. Juho attacks the monster's face. Pretty will finish this one. She missed it again. Pretty Nim hold up. She will die right away from that kind of attack. Get out. The monster was going to attack the pretty girl, but she missed it. How? Narsha appears, saying they are not done yet. She smashes 2 arrows into the monster. Juho is attacking the monster. Charming with an ice ball, Narsha is attacking the wolf. Go finish him, Pretty Nim. She attacks and kills it. Warrior thought they were going to die there. One mistake, and that surely would have been a deadly disaster. How is pretty Nim? She says she finally hits him. Juho says that's quite simple and plain. The warrior says he got a hit on him too. Narsha says she was skeptical about Juho at first. Warrior says oh yeah, he talked to Narsha about Juho's playstyle, maybe she was just surprised to see his playstyle in person. That gives him anxiety. Juho asks Charming, does she remember him practicing magic before? Charming says yeah, she also remembered that he caught on fire and screamed. She almost hit him in the face at that time. He thought he might not be able to use magic again. But he guesses he was wrong. He thinks if she has a light sword, they can detect some of the magic attacks. He means they can break magic spells. Yes, he knows these items also have magical properties. Shall they test them out then? Juho asks Charming can she please cast a magic spell on him? Charming says, are you going to be okay? Here they go. Juho says but this time he would like her to fire the magic arrow, not the arrow again. Charming starts doing magic light healing, there, she throws it to Juho, and he stops it with his sword. Narsha saw that spell in front of her, her eyes almost striking her. Juho laughs. Narsha says what? That was really close. What? Juho says he didn't expect that, so his sword really has magic capabilities. But he loses a lot more health while deflecting the attacks. Pretty girl looks happy. Juho says what if they also put magic properties on his light sword? Shinera PC shop appears. Sungo asks to Jaejung do he have a light sword magic spell? Jaejung says light sword. Why? That's very expensive, you know. Sungo says they can negotiate the price. Jaejung says his younger brother is rich. But Jaejung can't just tell him that without eating carbonara. Sungo gets what he is saying. About that, Sungo tried to buy some seeds yesterday, but they seem to have dried up. Jaejung says he is afraid to say that he won't be able to save it for sale. Sungo asks why. Jaejung says these days it is one of the controlled items. Sungo asks controlled? Jaejung says yes, so many people wanted to buy it, but it's very rare for people to sell it. Light sword magic book. Even if there is, they can expect it to be at least 10 times more than the actual price, it's a ripoff. He can also get the same item either from the Werewolf Wizard or the Twin-Headed Wolf. Jaejung is sure that these two guilds are now controlling the area with the wolves so they can get the item. A guy appears, saying, go back. Juho can't go back to the place. He completely cleared off just like that. Sungo asks so there's no other way? Jaejung laughs. Let him think. He says, how about adding gamabas to carbonara? The boss appears and asks, what are they talking about? Jaejung says to Sungo if he go deep into the forbidden space, outer zone 1, it's possible that there would be werewolf wizards or cursed wolves out there. He means the drop rate of light swords. The magic book is pretty good there. Boss says to Sunghan is he looking for a magic book light sword? But they are a hard nut to crack since they are elite class mobs. Elite class? Family delivery, carbonara gambas. The boss says he will take aglio and olio. What the hell is wrong with these people? Welcome to the world of lost brain waves. Check, Sungo male, character name Juho level 16. Refugee village. Warrior on the face call says to Juho to come here to the outer entrance zone 1, he says he is currently in the village and will be there soon. Charming on the face call says don't just walk all the way here, just use the portal. Portal? Lost Sky announcement and new portal update. In this new update, you can now teleport yourself smoothly from point A to point B by using portal. Just pay the teleportation fee to the NPC near the portal gate. Wow, that's cool. The forbidden place is the outer area zone 1 entrance. Hello, hi. It seems like the warrior has changed his shield. He must have spent a lot of money to upgrade it to +3. Thanks to Juho, he managed to save a lot of money recently and got the chance to upgrade this. Well, it seems everyone's equipment has been upgraded a lot. At some point, he can see that the money earned by playing this game has surpassed the amount he gets from his part-time job. Life is really strange. He actually started to pay his tuition thanks to his part-time job, but thanks to that part-time job, he has now started to play games. How the tables have turned. Joho can't believe that working at a part-time job is actually a loss. Joho Nim. He asked, did you see Narsha? Warrior says Narsha, I went out for a while to buy some potions. By the way, can I have a moment with you? Who is that girl? Well, Gilma sent her out here, she's a new member. There was no vacancy near the place in Zone 2, so she came here to ask if there was one. But the warrior couldn't say no to her. Look at her face. The equipment she is wearing isn't so bad, but isn't it dangerous to hunt here in Zone 1 at her level, Joho? I don't think he will be able to take care of her here. In Zone 1 and haunt with her. Gilma knows how complicated it is. Here in Outer Zone 1, and he just throws her out here. It's just. Joho says to the warrior, it's better if they send her back. He can't accept a person just as they are. Even if he or she is good, if it's hard for the warrior to reject her, then Joho will do it by himself. Warrior says, by the look on your face, he doesn't think this conversation will end very well. The warrior goes to Gilma and talks with her, she looks at Joho and disappears. The warrior says it's not like you don't want to tell her. Joho says to the warrior, before you decide on something, please discuss it with the other party members first. Yes, it's definitely his mistake, he says, my apologies. Narsha arrives and says, oh, Joho is here. He says hello to her. They look at the fort. Now that they are all together, should they go now? Narsha says, is something wrong? The warrior says it's his mistake. They already talked about it, and he needs to pay attention to it in the future. They are going. Narsha says, what the hell is the warrior talking about? Forbidden Palace Outer Area Zone 1. The warrior says he will take this one. Joho says to warrior that he was almost killed yesterday, it's too dangerous to attack by himself. Warrior says don't worry, he has prepared something that's worth giving a shot. Come here. Light hit. Warrior says now he is quite sharp. Joho was worried about him because it seemed like he was serious about taking on that mob, but he is getting better and better. The warrior says now they call him Paladin. At least he is in a good mood. Pretty girl appears to be fighting with a monster. Charming is doing binding magic. Joho will finish this off. Joho is attacking the monster, he wanted to try to freeze this one for the team to attack it. He usually uses an ice sword for this, and now he can feel the power of the flamed sword attached to his ice sword. Joho finished that off so quickly, now if he adds the ice sword here, Joho says to shield warriors, have he heard the rumors about Zone 1? Warrior says what do he mean? Well, Joho says he has something to tell. The light sword? Warrior says he was worried about that because he had low attack power but a light sword. Joho says of course, he needs to take the risk. Warrior says danger? What is that? They are the ones that are dangerous, right? Risky means worthy. Damn, it seems warrior confidence levels rose up so quickly. Narsha says those two are really close. Charming can't stop them. Inside the forbidden place, outer zone area 1, so it's true, that really looks so strong. But risky means worthy. The warrior is going in, he attacks the monster but misses it. The monster is going to attack Charming. Light sword? She might get killed in a single shot by that guy. Dodge. Narsha throws an arrow at the monster. Thank you. Charming, do the magic of the ice ball and bind the monster. Pretty girl attacks the monster. The light sword as a glaive? Joho doesn't know how much damage his currently used sword would deal to this mob. This is it? Joho attacks the monster. The monster howls, and he again attacks it. Nice. He is fighting with the monster. Monster avoided that one, but he has more strength than him. But he is not bad at all. Joho is fighting with the wolf, he almost caught him, but he's too strong. Joho says take cover, shield warrior. Hello again, little kid. Wolf attacks, and as expected, warrior can control his shield properly. Light heal. Narsha tells the warrior to get out of the way, he gets out, and she throws an arrow at the wolf. Charming, do the magic ice ball. Pretty girl attacks the wolf by saying he is dead. The warrior is stopping the wolf with his shield. Pretty girl and warrior are fighting with the wolf. Wolf howls and is going to attack on pretty girl and warrior. There's a gap, Juho attacks the wolf. It seems like he hit him very well, another one is dead now. That's quite hard. Pretty girl says, hey, look, it's the light sword magic book. Juho remembers what Jaejung said, as per the deal, he will buy them chobap next time. Juho didn't want that deal at that time. But thanks to Hyung Nim, look at his attitude change so suddenly. Warrior says werewolf armor is a complete set with upgrade stones and potions, but it's kind of a decent drop. Charming says it seems like a good set of rewards. Warrior says Juho can take that first. Juho says then he can take it first, but it's pretty shameful of him to also take this. Charming says she has never seen Juho being greedy. Juho laughs and says, is that so? A timer? What is that for? Warrior says to Juho, he mean this? It just sets a timer. Juho asks to Warrior what will he do with it. Warrior says usually elite mobs drop high-end items, so he will set a timer for the respawning of those mobs using the timer. Pretty girl says Warrior is really brilliant. Juho says that's an excellent idea, as expected from him. Warrior laughs, and says that's nothing. Narsha says it's really just nothing because everyone can do that. A sword magic book appears. Juho's intelligence points were almost forgotten, instead of increasing his stamina or agility. He will increase his intelligence points. Using rings and circles, let's try it again. The light sword spell enchantment has been successfully applied to his weapon. Light sword, he finally got it. He will be respawned in a few minutes. Monster appears. The warrior won't let him do that, now sit down. It's Juho time now. Juho, with his light sword, attacks the wolf. He is almost down after just 2 hits. Everyone takes cover. Charming attack with a fireball, the wolf is burning. That must have hurt. Warrior wonders what it feels like to be hit by that thing. He will be cooked by skewers, anyway. Narsha says there's a lot of power. Charming says she didn't expect it to fire so much power, though, because he continues to take damage because of the fire zone. Warrior wonders what would happen if they were inside. Narsha says they would become BRBQ, that's some incredible power. Charming says she didn't realize it would be that strong. The damage keeps stacking up in the flames. Charming says the charging time and mana consumption are really high, it's difficult to use it unless her timing is precise. If she misses the target, she pretty much ends up skipping a turn. Narsha says it's really strong for how hard it is to use. Charming says she can't really use it outside of situations like this, where Mr. Juho caught it for her. Warrior says it looks like its drops aren't always great. Narsha guesses there's no need to stay around here the whole time. Let's go further in. Juho and Pretty Girl appear to be fighting with wolves. Charming and Narsha appear to be fighting with wolves. They are walking. Warrior says he guesses they should have stayed back in that area. Charming says right, they have only encountered hellhounds here. Narsha says finally, a face she was hoping to meet, let's go. Another team appears in front of them. Warrior and a guy had eye contact. Guy says, are you part of the Legend Guild? That's correct. Guy says he can't exactly say it's a pleasure to meet you in this situation. Warrior says the same goes for them as well. The hand signal they agreed upon was prepare for a fight after the unexpected PK asterisk from the last time they came up with these signals. Guy says they will step aside this time. Warrior says thanks for being understanding. Guy says he hopes they can meet under happier circumstances next time. That smile Juho and Warrior thinking where they have seen it before, that guy appears saying just the 4 of you. That guy. Juho team says then let's go haunt those cursed werewolf soldiers. Warrior says to just pretend to fight the war soldiers for a bit. Pretty Girl says what? Warrior says since there are fewer people, it's dangerous to fight one-on-one. Warrior sats, did she see that building over there? Once he has gathered their attention here, Pretty Girl should move to protect the rest of the team. Narsha and Charming should move to the top of the building and focus on ranged attacks. Juho asks, and me? Warrior says, he love a joker, and he should try to stir things up as much as possible. Joho laughs. What do he mean by Joker? Warrior says then he will leave it to Mr. Joho. Joho says he will try to live up to the standard of Mr. Warrior. Shield Warrior appears to be fighting with a wolf. Joho is standing alone, sneaking around like a little thief. Nice try hiding your footsteps. A guy appears to be attacking Joho from the back, but Joho moves and attacks back on the guy. Joho shouts and says to Guy if he attack with the intent to kill he shouldn't act so surprised. Guy is crying for his eye. It looks like Joho can block his line of sight with this. Joho again attacks the guy, but the guy disappears. Thanks for the information. 1 down.